about that? Um, I won't even tell you the stupid thing I did. So I thought I had the power supply plugged in, but apparently it had come out, and I just kept unplugging and replugging the monitor, which, interestingly enough, will not fix your power supply. Look at all of the things I've learned already, and we're just starting. Hello, everybody. We've got, let me make sure I get my other comment section open. We have Patty's here. Hi, Patty. Hi, Mike. Holden McGroin's here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have a weak voice. I don't know why. Because I'm 53. And, if that's the worst of it, all right, then I'll take it. Our sound is super low. There we go. Is that better? Thank you, Sonia. It is my birthday. I am 53 today. What the heck? I was 53 at 1:49 this morning. Thank you. And today is also my grandson's birthday. My very first grandson was born on my birthday. How cool is that? I gotta get this. Everything's all discombobulated here. I don't know what happened while I was camping. Somebody got in here and some hobos got in here and messed around in my RV, and I'm not having it. Thank you for the happy birthdays. So I wanted to show you. This wasn't for my birthday, but our friend Gypsy Princess sent me some gifts, and so I wanted to show you. These are the beets. Do you guys remember me talking about the beets? I'd never had pickled beets, and so she sent me some, and these are ones that she canned during our July 23rd broadcast. So I was keeping her company while she was canning her beets. How cool is that? Hi, Tennessee woman. I saw your hello earlier today. Thank you. And I wanted to show you. So she said she was going to send me beets, but she didn't tell me there were going to be other gifts. Everything is just pulling on me and driving me bananas. All right, let's get that. Okay. It's hot in Kentucky. It was crazy yesterday. Hi, Debbie. Yesterday was 75 here. We don't see that in July very often. But she sent me all these little things she makes. I didn't realize she had a little store. She's got a store called Gypsy Apothecary. And you can find that on Gypsy Princess Products on Facebook. And then on Instagram, she is gypsy.princess.products. And there's her little label if you guys want to give you a second to screen capture that in case you are interested in any of her lovely products. I don't know if you can read that or not. But anyway, this is the lavender lemongrass soap. It smells so good. Hi, RJ. I'm so glad you were born too. Thank you. And then this one, Don thinks this one smells really bad. It's patchouli and just patchouli. Yeah, this one's lavender lemongrass. This one's patchouli. Don thinks this smells like a dirty hippie, so I've not washed with it. This one, look here, stinky poo spray. It's good. Don't spray it where your poop comes out. You spray it in the toilet or in the bathroom. I'm guessing. Yeah, in the toilet. It's got. I mean, my poop smells like sunshine and rainbows. So I don't know what she's trying to say here, but it's got ginger, key lime. I can't see. Oh, oregano, orange, and lemon. Isn't that lovely? Wait, there's more. She sent me this. I just now have my glasses on to look at this one. This is, I'm guessing this is some kind of, oh, it is. It's lip gloss. And it's got all natural ingredients in it. She makes that. How, you guys are so resourceful. This is delicious. It smells so good. It's mocha latte lip balm. Amazing. And then look, a little cocoa lotion bar. Isn't that cute? It would just fit right in your purse. And Holden, wherever you keep your stuff, it would fit. I like patchouli too. I'll have to wash in it when Don's not home. Smells don't last on me a real long time, so it'll be wore off by the time he gets home. And then this is a roll-on. What is that word? It's got kind of a weird font that's hard to read. Some kind of itch relief, roll-on itch relief. And I actually used this because I got mosquito bites while I was camping. And wait a minute, is that it? That's it. Hold on. There's a bunch of stuff in here. Give me a second. That's why I got it in a big old gallon bag. So this, of all the things she sent me, I've not tried the beets yet, to be fair. It is the Fresh Pits deodorant paste. I have been looking for at least 10 years for a natural deodorant that doesn't have aluminum in it and other toxic chemicals, because as a woman, you're putting that right next to your breasts, if your boobs are where mine are anyway, which I'm assuming they are. And the breast tissue really takes up chemicals and things like that. So, like, I'm always careful when I wear regular deodorant to wash it off every night, to let your armpits have a time to rest. Because I don't shower every day. If I did, my skin would just crumble and die. Um, this is the only stuff I've ever used that actually works. Like, I don't have to put it on again in the middle of the day or anything. Oh, that's okay, Gypsy Princess. I'm so glad you're here. But it looks like I saw it and I thought, yeah, that's going to work. But it goes on a little gray, but then it's like completely clear. It doesn't get like a, you know how when you put deodorant on and you pull your shirt over and you'll sometimes on the sides of your shirt you'll get little white residue from your deodorant. Doesn't do that. This works really good. I take it and I put it actually in my palm with a little drop of grapefruit essential oil. Smells so good. Doesn't hold the smell because your pits aren't great about natural holding like essential oil smells. They'll do fragrant smells pretty well, but I don't want that. So I'll actually be ordering this from you because I love this stuff. So hooray on that. How fun is that? Let me see my comments here. I love you too, Holden McGroin. Uh, I love Holden McGroin. He's so funny. Let's see. Gypsy Princess says her printer was janky, so the labels are a little hard to read. Well, and I'm old and I can't see, so there's that. Who needs mainstream media when we have this? Honest question. Did anyone else lose a day this week? My Tuesday just disappeared and so did a friend's. RJ. Are you guys both in the same state? Maybe there was a time warp. Because I have all my days and they were all crazy this week. I do. I love it. This week did fly by. So last week we left for camping. We're supposed to leave on Friday, but Don ended up having to do a repair on something, so we didn't leave till Saturday. But on Sunday, our oldest son, Donnie, and his wife, Jessica, and our little 1-year-old grandbaby, Harper, came out. Harper Willow, isn't that the cutest name? Anyway, they came out. I'm not going to show their picture, but it was Harper's first time on the boat, and I was a little worried. She's a very reserved, intense baby. Like, she's always examining everything and looking at it. You can just tell she's taking everything in, right? And I thought, okay, she's going to freak out when it goes fast. Nope, she loved it. She loved trying to walk on the boat while the boat was moving. She thought that was great. And we've got a tri-tune, which is a pontoon with three of the round things under it, whatever those are called. And so it's got a gate that goes all the way around it so she can walk and, not fall off the boat. She's not really climbing up on the sofas and stuff yet. So we were safe there. But she got out in the water in her little tube and she thought that was the greatest thing. I mean, she didn't fuss. We were out there like 4 hours and, kept her all slathered up with sunscreen, which I did not do. And so my back's just burnt like crazy. But Jessica laid down with her and nursed her, and she even went to sleep on the boat. And I would show that picture, but I didn't get permission from them ahead of time. But it's the sweetest picture. You can't see anything, but the baby's laying on her chest and Jessica's asleep and the baby's asleep. And it's just the cutest thing you ever saw. RJ says, I keep missing these live streams, but all along I've loved the chatters. Yes, it did fly by. Well, you know what? Because I moved it. So the last time we had live stream, we did it on Sunday because I wanted to see how our numbers were. And just doing it once doesn't really tell you what your numbers are because it takes people a while to get into the routine and find you and figure out a different night. You really need about 4 to 5 weeks when you're a channel this small to figure out if that's going to help your numbers or not. But I went back and I looked, and the last Friday we pulled 2,000, not in the live stream, but all said. Yes, we did see an eagle, and that was super exciting. We weren't able to get a picture of it. And it was funny because we had given up, and I was looking down, and Don said, there it is, there it is. And so I looked up, and just perfectly just flew over us. We saw eagles and blue heron. We didn't catch any deer this time. Didn't see any bear. We've never seen bear out there. You know what? Now that I think of it, I don't think I've even seen... Yeah, we've seen raccoon once. I've never seen possum out there. We went to Don used to work for Kentucky Teachers Retirement, and he would go all over the state and would um, like do seminars on what their insurance policy was. And they do all of these at parks within the state. And so we would go to like Cumberland State Park, all these different parks for these things. Well, one day I can't remember what park we were at, but really, really hilly, kind of down toward Tennessee. And he was off doing whatever he was doing, and I was getting us packed up. And so I'm in the room and I'm back and forth taking stuff to the car. And I've got the door open. So I go into the bathroom to get the bathroom bag, and I come out, and there's three little raccoons inside the room, like past the bed, walking toward me. And I'm like, oh, you're raccoons. You can't be in here. Go, go, go. And they weren't scared at all. They were just like, hey, you know, are you clearing out? Because we're going to take over this room when you're gone. Um, and so I finally had to shoo them out, and I was worried that the mom would get mad. I don't know what angry mother raccoons do, but I didn't want to find out. I know that we've got, oh, it's a pretty sunset tonight. I know that we've got two raccoons out here that get up in our tree and bicker and carry on like a married couple. And it did rain every year on my birthday since I have been born. It has rained. And there was one year where it did not rain, and I thought God forgot my birthday. But it rained, it sprinkled just after midnight, and so I got rain. So I'm like, okay, got that. And I got to talk to my grandson, who turned 11, and he was going to the arcade, the bowling alley, out to lunch. There was something else, and I'm like, man, you hit it big. I'm just home, like doing stuff that I didn't get done last week and working on my show. But anyway, they have this. I'd never looked at this before, but you know how they have websites that will tell you, um, like what special thing happened on your birthday. I recommend that you have somebody else read it, and if it's good, they can share it with you. And if it's like mine, then they don't. Um, Holden says I had a pet raccoon when I was in my late teens. He was great. I would think they're so smart. RJ says when Penny came back, she will be all smiles, giggly, and apologetic. I am back, RJ. Hit refresh. Hopefully, I'm back. Let me look. Oh, no. Yeah, I'm back because I think I'm back. There we go. Yeah. RJ, hit refresh. We're back, honey. We've been back a little bit. Um, so, anyway, I looked up what happened in this day, in history, and the news was all bad. I don't blame me though, because it was bad long before I got here. So in 1914, Britain declared war on Germany. Not my mercy, not my fault. In 1944, Anne Frank was captured, one of the most well-known figures of the 20th century and a victim of the Holocaust. 14-year-old Anne Frank and her family were captured and arrested by the Germans from their hiding place in Amsterdam. I didn't do it. Um, hey, somebody in chat, let RJ know that we're on. Because I told her to hit her refresh, but she hasn't hit her refresh, so she can't hear me. In 1892, Lizzie Borden murdered her parents. I mean, that's not funny, but how much worse can it get? The bloody murders of the two Fall River, Massachusetts residents in their own home gained media and public attention in the United States because their daughter, Lizzie Borden, was accused of the crime. She asked him. I guess that's like in question whether Lizzie did it. I assume she did. RJ says, someone posted just today on X a picture of a dead raccoon that was painted on the painted with a stripe by road painters. Oh, wow. Yeah, there will be a dash in the stripe. I let him go through the wild after about 8 months, I would think. Debbie says Charles Manson was born on my birthday here. I can top it, Debbie. Barack Obama was born on mine. Not the year, though. Not the year. Thank you, Donut. I have raccoons, possum, deer, feral cats, and just found 5 kittens in the barn. Oh my gosh, Patty. Was Anne Frank real or a See, Lady Be Good has been like magenta pilled. She's not buying anything anymore. Is Anne Frank real or a psyop? You know, I know that does go around. Um, Gypsy says, "Have you and Don been to Chain Rock? We have not. That was one of the childhood memory places my dad would take us. Where is Chain Rock? Let's look. Let's learn some things together. Chain. Why is my keyboard so weird? Chained Rock in southeastern Kentucky's Bell County. What is this thing? All right, hold on. I don't know how to screen share very well on here. Oh, it's just a big rock. It's exactly what you would think it is. It's a big rock with a chain. In southeastern Kentucky's Bell County, high on the vaulted slopes of Pine Mountain. Let's see where that's at. Lexington, Louisville, Bowling Green, almost to Tennessee. For years, Chain Rock had been part of an area mountain folklore, but in the 1930s, it became a genuine legend when a feat of the newly formed Chained Rock Club was reported in countless newspapers across the country. As the legend goes, the town's children had for years been told that the rock hanging ominously above town could not give way and come tumbling down on them as they slept. Oh gosh, I would hope not, because it had been chained. In truth, however, the boulder had never been secured, but events in 1932 changed that forever when the mighty boulder was harnessed by an enormous chain. The hike down to Chained Rock is 0.3 miles one way and affords majestic views of the surrounding Cumberland Mountains. That's probably, Pineville's probably not too far. That might actually be the county my dad was born in. Let's look. Pineville, Kentucky, distance to Fonda. Why they call it's Fonda, but they say Fonda. It is. They're not going to tell me. It's a mystery how far it is. 2 hours and 3 minutes. Oh, okay, I see. It's east. Okay, well, not close then. Dad was born on a mountain in Fonda, Kentucky. There's nothing. Well, there's stuff up there now, but there wasn't then. Thank you for that donut mind. I would have missed the whole show. Yeah, I kept saying refresh, RJ, and then it occurred to me that because you hadn't refreshed, you couldn't hear me. Um, can't remember the name of the little town below it. Well, I closed it. I don't know. Yeah, a boulder. See, these parents were nice. They told their kids that there was no way the boulder would come down and crush them. That's exactly what I would have told my kids. I would have said, "No, if you're not good, the earth will shake from your sin, and that rock will come down and crush you." Ah, here goes my Mother of the Year award, my sash, my crown. It's all gone. It's all gone. How do you go to the next page? Oh, there it is. Okay. And then, okay, so Barack Obama's born on my birthday. And you know, I was always so bummed out because I didn't know of anybody famous born on my birthday. And the first famous person I knew of born on my birthday was Barack Obama. And I don't know that as a conservative, I wouldn't call myself a Republican. Um, I was kind of bummed out about that. Uh, we've got Louis Armstrong was born in 1901, and in 1900, Queen Elizabeth was born. Don't know that I feel very special. I was actually glad, though, not to see my name on the death side of who died in that year. Hans Christian Andersen died on August 4th, 1970. I bet he had like super good last words. In 1956, on August 4th, Elvis Presley released Hound Dog, a cover of Big Mama Thornton's original. Big Mama Thornton, never heard of her. Um, that's worse than rock, guys. I am apparently 228 dog years old. I had no idea you could look that up. A dog's first human year is equal to 15 dog years. Dogs age differently depending on the breed and size. Um, when you reach age 6, the dog would be 40. From that point forward, small sized dogs like bull terriers will age 4 dog years for every human year. So I'm 228 in dog years, and y'all owe me some respect because that's a freaking long time. Did you guys thank you, Marie. Um, did you guys get to see the hold video? Was that the best? I worked so hard on that. I love that I found all the people dancing, and it just made me very happy. I watched it many times. What was the number one song on my birthday? That would be Close to You by the Carpenters. Um, well, it says August 8th, 1970. So there was no, is there no number one song on August 4th? And then it says, ask your parents if they know this popular song. I know that popular song. I'm old enough to remember that. Ask my parents. Of course, my parents remember it. Ivy. But anyway, that's been our week. There's been a bunch of other crazy stuff go on that I won't share on here involving my brother. He's safe um, and in relatively good health. Nothing that's happened is changing his health. He just doesn't take care of himself. But he's disabled. I have guardianship of him, and he lives in Lexington. And so there's every year around this time, it seems like something comes up with his care provider, and we end up having to move him. And we're in that situation again this year. Um, Care for the disabled in Kentucky is, in my experience, absolutely pitiful. The agencies that run it, I am unable to determine any reasonable degree of oversight that is done on the people who actually provide the care. So I'm going to have a meeting with them about that this week. I won't name them because, I'm trying not to be crappy, but we'll see where that goes. It's just hard on him because, we've moved him like 6 times, and all for, hi AJ, all for reasons of poor care, um, just things that were completely out of our hands, but just because of not good providers and poor agency oversight. And that seems to be the rule here. So very frustrating. From that, we'll leap right into leprosy. I don't know why I put leprosy first. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Wait, let's share our screen. Hold on, let me go down here. I do have some comedic stuff for us, so hang in there. We'll get through leprosy together. There we go. Well, I can, there we go, get my cursor over there. Leprosy may be becoming endemic in Florida, and this is from the Washington Examiner. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention published a research letter on Monday sounding the alarm about the rising cases of leprosy in Florida. After reviewing data from 2020, now first I want to tell you that they're making this sound like a big thing. I don't think it's a big thing because the cases had been going down for years, and so now they're just ticking up a little bit. But, they like to try to scare us with monkeypox and malaria and polio and leprosy. I think that's the list so far. Dengue fever. I just don't put anything past them coming into an election year. We'll see what happens. Epidemiologists are concerned that the skin and neurological disease is becoming endemic or native to certain parts of Florida, possibly spreading across the Sun Belt. This was the only article that I found that really represented this fairly. Florida has witnessed an increased incidence of leprosy cases lacking traditional risk factors. Those trends, so the traditional risk factors are you've been out of the country or you've had some exposure to an armadillo, because armadillos are the what's the word for that? The reservoir for leprosy. In addition to decreasing diagnosis in foreign-born persons, contribute to rising evidence that leprosy has become endemic in southeastern United States. Here's what you need to know. So the leprosy cases in Central Florida account for 1/5 of the 159 new cases of the diseases in the U.S. I don't know why we don't know where the other 4/5 are from. In Florida, the cases in the central part of the state accounted for 81% of the total. Oh, okay, so Florida's the cases of the central part. Oh, yeah, so it's mostly Florida. Although leprosy in the US is exceedingly rare, the majority of cases are either acquired through foreign travel to areas where the disease is endemic or by contact with infected animals, which we just said. Um, According to the research letter, however, approximately 34% of the Floridian leprosy cases were locally acquired, suggesting mounting epidemiological evidence that leprosy is becoming endemic or native. Um, so, leprosy, there's 200,000 cases of leprosy per year worldwide. Leprosy is known as Hansen's disease, typically manifests through painful skin lesions and peripheral nerve damage, meaning damage at the ends of your body, your hands, feet, lower legs, things like that. Um, oh no, that's not what that means. Peripheral would be toward the top. If why can I not think of what that word? Because it's my birthday. Because I'm 53. That's why. It's a word that fell out of my nurse brain. Mark it down, guys. It's only more to come. It's probably leprosy. It's not. The disease is, okay, peripheral nerve damage. If untreated, the disease can cause paralysis of the hands and feet, chronic non healing ulcers, blindness, and permanent nerve pain. Yeah, I was right. That's, yes, peripheral neuropathy. Um, the disease is treatable with a 3-day drug antibiotic combination, killing the pathogen that causes the disease within 6 to 12 months, depending on the specific characteristics. Although there may be zoonotic transmission from armadillos in certain parts of the South, you guys, I lived in Texas, was very close to armadillos, never got leprosy. Like shaking hands, it's not spread through casual contact like shaking hands, hugging, sharing meals, or sitting next to each other, the World Health Organization said, adding that infected people stop transmitting the disease shortly after treatment. The author of the research letter suggested that international migration, this is the only article I read that said this part, which is what I thought at the beginning, suggests that international migration may be a cause for growing leprosy case counts in the United States, you think? Which have grown in correlation with rising immigration rates. But don't worry about controlling that border. It's just leprosy. Um, I hear leprosy colonies were nice. Very close knit, not a lot of visitors, but hey, who needs visitors? The authors of the research letter suggest. Oh, we read that part. Reports from the CDC show that although the incidence of leprosy has been increasing, the rates of new diagnosis in persons born outside of the United States has been declining since 2002. The number of international migrants in North America increased from 27.6 million in 1990 to 58.7 million in 2020. So a link to migration may account for the increase in incidence of leprosy in historical non-endemic areas, right? Um, I already said that part. That's that. So leprosy. I'm thinking if I had to have, if I had a choice between polio, leprosy, what else do we have going around? Monkeypox, polio, leprosy, monkeypox, dengue fever, and malaria and COVID. I definitely take COVID because these new variants of COVID are nothing. Then I guess I'd go for monkeypox. What's left? Malaria, polio, dengue, leprosy. What am I missing? Okay, so I'd go monkeypox. Get your bingo cards out. I'd go monkeypox. No, COVID, monkeypox. Uh, Malaria is rough. Leprosy and malaria are a close third, and then polio at the end. Oh, and dengue fever is pretty bad too. When it's viral, there's not. That's a tough one. You guys, if you could pick, I'm going to take COVID out because that's not fair. If you could pick, why am I frozen up? If you could pick between dengue fever, uh, malaria, polio, I know nobody's going to say polio, um, There it is. Gosh, you guys, my whole thing just crashed. Malaria, polio, dengue fever, leprosy. Yeah, of those four, which one would you pick first? Stick your chin out and say Penny looks fabulous. The Carpenters were weird. A brother and sister singing loves. I agree, RJ. I always thought that was creepy weird. And she's got an eating disorder, so there's some psychiatric stuff going on. I think that was pretty sketchy. Um, Holden McGroin said he couldn't live without his dogs. Oh, hugs. It's not much better in Tennessee. Oh, goody, leprosy. Marburg. No, there's no Marburg in this country. Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff. I'm just talking about like what of the recent news if you had to pick one. So if you had to pick between polio, malaria, dengue, and leprosy, which one would you pick? Debbie, you would not pick Ebola. Nobody's picking Ebola. It's got like an 80% death rate. RJ says she'd just die. Marburg's. No, not you guys. None was not an option. You had to pick one. You guys suck at this game. There will be no party favors for you. You better pick a disease. That's all I got to say. Okay, so since we're talking about diseases, let's dive into the Chinese biolab in was it Fresno? You'll take malaria? Why malaria? Like malaria over leprosy, dengue fever. I don't know enough about dengue fever. Um, yeah, definitely over polio. No, I'd take monkeypox. Monkeypox was the other one. I would definitely take monkeypox first. You need to get hot on a bunch of new protocols. I don't think we're going to need a bunch of new protocols. I have determined that for about everything that I've seen so far, we could use iodine or we could use methylene blue. We could use those in combination, not together, but in the same day. Iodine, methylene blue, colloidal silver, and thank you to Debbie Bender. For some reason, black seed oil. It's Nigella sativa. Debbie had said something to me about taking it a long time ago, and for some reason it popped into my head. And Don's really having trouble with his blood pressure. Like he's been over 200 systolically. And so I've been doing some stuff, but I've not been able to consistently get him under 160. And so I added the Nigella sativa yesterday. So we'll see how that goes. I found some chewables. A great little thing. There's an old, folk saying about black seed oil, which is Nigella sativa, that says it'll cure everything but death. And it's one of the most medically researched oils that there is, plants, I guess. RJ's taking malaria. Monkeypox seems like the least bad. I agree. I would definitely take monkeypox. Malaria can be cured with hydroxychloroquine, but you're still going to feel pretty awful while it's going on. And malaria can flare back up. So you get over malaria one time and you can keep getting it over and over. That's why I didn't pick it. Chlorine dioxide. Thank you, Gypsy Princess. I cannot tolerate chlorine dioxide internally, though. I can take methylene blue, no problem. Iodine, no problem. Silver, of course, no problem. That's so benign. Hydrogen peroxide, if there was something respiratory, that'd be one of the first things I would turn to, would be that and Lugol's iodine. Nigella sativa. Thank you, Debbie. Hey, Debbie, you and John are both hypertensive, aren't you? And you have diabetes. I don't know if John's diabetic. And I know Nigella sativa is also good for breathing, and John has COPD, not to share your whole medical history. But are you finding that, because you guys have been on it a while, are you finding that you're having any improvement on that supplement? I did not know malaria return. Yeah, like chickenpox and herpes. Yeah, chickenpox can come back as shingles, and herpes is just, but I still think we could do well with chickenpox and herpes. You guys, I was getting shingles. What did I have shingles? Like 7 times for people who followed me a long time. Like 7 times from the time I had COVID in 2020 until I think last summer I had it in 2 years. I had shingles 7 times. and it was getting worse every time. And so I started taking methylene blue as soon as I'd get that weird tingling in my skin. And after about 3 months, I quit taking it, and I've not had any more trouble. This has been a really, really stressful week for me, really stressful. That usually triggers it. No problems at all. Uh, Debbie, did it bring your guys' blood pressure down? Scalar colloidal silver knocked COVID-19 out. You had the first strain. Oh, wow. I did not think about, for some reason, I think because I was, had what was my temperature? Like 104.9 for 3 days. I was sick 53 days. Um, but for some reason, colloidal silver never occurred to me. I didn't know anything about iodine. I didn't know about the peroxide. I did. I developed all those protocols while I was sick, um, to try to keep it from happening to other people, and we had great success. Anybody who's here that doesn't know that story, we're almost to 2,000 people that have used the protocol. Most of them, when it was the more severe form, if you don't think COVID is a thing, whatever that thing was that was making people so sick. Um, we had no hospitalizations, no deaths, and everyone in our group who came in even later with long COVID, we were able to get better. So, and that's an over-the-counter protocol, not one prescription drug in it. Didn't they say smallpox is coming back in California homeless populations? Well, let's just look. Well, tuberculosis, that's the other thing that's coming back. I was going to pull that one and I forgot. Um, so apparently the government has turned loose 40,000 unaccompanied minors with tuberculosis and has no idea if they're getting the treatment that they need. And they're in the community. They're going to school with your kids. They're, whatever. And we don't know that their tuberculosis has been treated. And if it's only partially treated, it can become resistant to antibiotics. And if that spreads, we're in big trouble, you guys, because we don't have a cure for TB, especially the resistant variety of it. Smallpox, what'd you say? Smallpox, California. I'm looking here. Homeless. And I would guess that's just the kids they're checking. I can't imagine they're checking all these adults for TB. They're definitely not checking the ones that are, getaways. Oh, wow, you're right. Who gave me that tip? Do not mind me. Hat tip to you. Medieval. I can't pull this up because I don't know how to set up the slide. So I'll just read it to you. Medieval diseases are infecting California's homeless. Typhus? Wow. Tuberculosis and other illnesses are spreading quickly through camps and shelters. Yes. You guys, everybody thinks we eradicated all these things through immunizations. And that's really not the story. The story is that we eradicated polio was largely eradicated because we started storing grain differently. Mice and stuff were getting into the grain. That was causing issues. And good sanitation. And that's the case for a lot of these things, that just good sanitation is what keeps us healthy. So let's see this. And you guys don't worry about polio in the community, even if you touch, or not polio, leprosy. Even if you touch someone with leprosy, you're not going to get leprosy. It can be spread through respiratory droplets, but that's even really hard to do. Jennifer Miller keeps trash bags and hand sanitizer near her tent, regularly pours water mixed with hydrogen peroxide on the sidewalk nearby, keeping herself and the patch of concrete she calls home clean. I don't want to read the whole thing. People in Washington State have been infected with Shigella, wow, which is spread through feces and causes diarrheal disease, shigellosis. Love the name of that one. If I ever have another dog, I'm going to name it chlamydia. And if I get another dog, then shigellosis. And then one more dog, I'm going to name it piperacillin and call it a day. As well as Bartonella quintina or trench fever, wow, which spreads through body lice. Trench fever. Yeah, that's pretty exotic. Hep A also spreads primarily through feces, infecting more than 1,000 people in Southern California in the past 2 years. The disease is also has also erupted New Mexico, Ohio, and Kentucky. Oh, crap. Good thing I don't eat out. particularly among people who are homeless or use drugs. Public health officials and politicians, blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to see if that's the end of it. Our homeless crisis is increasingly becoming a public health crisis, California Governor Gavin Newsom said in his State of the State speech in February. Okay, I would have been so embarrassed to say that out loud. Our homeless crisis. You mean your public health policies and your crime policies have caused a homeless crisis that is now becoming a public health crisis. They act like, oh, wow, it's so weird. All these homeless people, and we're having disease outbreaks. I mean, I can't imagine what's causing all these homeless people. I don't know. Maybe the fact that you're giving them all drug paraphernalia, that people know they can move there. And this is not just me being bigoted or whatever. This is per addicts on the street that have been interviewed. They moved to California because the weather's nice. They don't have to prove income, and they can get $700, which isn't much, but if you're living on the street, it's enough. Um, all the drug paraphernalia they want. They're not going to be hassled by the cops. And so that's why they go to live there. So they've made this problem. Typhus, he said, is a medieval disease in California in 2019. I would be so embarrassed if I were the governor. This guy wants to run for president. He's bringing back medieval diseases. Like that should be, if you guys have any sway with anybody who makes political commercials, send them this article from The Atlantic that medieval diseases are returning in California under Governor Newsom's leadership. And as freaked out and hypochondriacal as so many people are these days, this should be enough to can that. About 553,000 people were homeless at the end of 2018. How old is this article? The hygiene situation is just horrendous for people living in the street. A physician with St. John's Well Child and Family Center who treats homeless patients in Los Angeles County said, it becomes just like a third world environment where their human feces contaminate the area where they're eating and sleeping. Yeah, they're not limited to the homeless population. Even someone who believes they are protected from these infections is not. At least one Los Angeles city staffer said she contracted typhus in City Hall last fall. And San Diego County officials warned in 2017 that diners at a well-known restaurant were at risk of hepatitis A. That's crazy. That's crazy, you guys. It makes me think Lizzie Borden being born on or killing her family on my birthday is not the worst thing. There were 167 cases of typhus from January 2018 through February of this year. What year is this written? This is 2019. Okay. Up from 125 in 2013. Typhus is a bacterial infection that can cause a high fever, stomach pain, and chills, but can be treated with antibiotics. Outbreaks are more common in overcrowded and trash-filled areas that attract rats, of course. The recent typhus outbreak began last fall when health officials reported clusters of the flea-borne disease in downtown Los Angeles and Compton. Oh my gosh. That's okay. I don't want to read more of that. That's crazy. I'm done. Typhus is, I cannot believe we're talking about typhus. I wasn't the one who recommended. No, Debbie, you didn't recommend it, but you told me you were using it. And so I was curious. Oh, you guys haven't tried it. I could have sworn you were taking black seed oil. Can't remember who it was now. Dr. McCullough has a full spectrum of hemp in black seed oil. Hemp in black seed oil. Huh, really? I saw they took his checking accounts away. I couldn't handle a fever for 4 days. I always get the most, oh my gosh. I had a fever for what? Like Debbie, was it like 50 days or something? I think it took me till day 53 not to have some type of fever every day. And I'm talking a fever of like 102, not just a low grade fever. It was terrible. I was 104.9 for 3 days sustained. Tylenol would not bring it down. I can't take ibuprofen. No, they don't care about your health at all. Sonia says, I was just diagnosed with an Epstein-Barr virus reinfection, went to Dr. Brownstein's, based on your recommendations. They ran oh, you must be in Michigan. They ran 48 tests. They gave me hydrogen peroxide, vitamin C, IV, and B12, and I feel almost normal again. That is quite a testimony. Thank you for sharing that, Sonia. What part of Michigan do you live in? You used, did you do the IV hydrogen peroxide, like ozone, or what did you do? Bless your heart. Shigellosis. No, trench fever and trench mouth are different things, I think. Hold on. Trench. We are learning so much. You guys, we're all going to be public health uh, officials by the end of this. We couldn't do any worse than Fauci, right? Trench mouth versus trench, no, trench fever. Ooh, I hope it can't get in your mouth. That's so gross. Trench mouth occurs when there is too much pathologic bacteria. The gums become infected, develop painful ulcers. Trench mouth is now called, yeah, that's called stomatitis. No, it's not the same thing. Can also be acute necrotizing ulcerative gingivitis, or necrotizing ulcerative peritonitis, which would be really serious because necrotizing means that the gum tissue is dying. And that would be awful and painful. And I hope nobody gets that. But yeah, no, not the same thing as trench fever. Let's look, we'll figure out what trench fever is. We'll have a quiz at the end of the show. I'm giving away. Hold on. I lost it. I'm going to give away. If you win the infectious disease quiz, you'll get Fresh Pits deodorant paste. I'll have to work out a deal with Gypsy Princess. Oh, that's too funny. Any of us old enough to have smallpox vax are now past that vax being effective. I think, well, people think that, but like my parents never got measles vaccines. They've never had measles. Um, I got measles vaccine. It should be well worn off by now. I did when COVID came around because because I got that horrible history. So after I had COVID, um, I think it was when Delta was going around, and Delta was insane. I worked myself to death helping people through Delta. Um, that's where most of my cases were. Of the almost 2,000, most of them were Delta. Um, what was I telling you guys? Oh, to protect myself, I went and got an MMR vaccine because there was data that came out that people in American Samoa and Taiwan or something like that, I can't remember where else, like 500 miles out of China, I can't remember where it was though. Um, they were having like no cases of COVID, and the interesting correlation there was in the past 5 or 10 years, they had both had measles outbreaks and had vaccinated a bunch of their adult population. So even when they got COVID, nobody was really getting sick. What was interesting about this was, I mean, there were almost no cases in American Samoa. There were none for a really long time. Now they're pretty isolated. But what got me was they really pushed the shot in American Samoa. So I would be really curious to know how they've done because most of them didn't end up with COVID and they got the shot. Um, they may have it now. I don't know. Um, yes, that is the one that left the mark on your arm. I have not had that one. My brother had it. So they must have stopped that sometime in 69 or 70, since I don't have it and he did. Just imagine how many more homes there might be if there weren't millions of illegal immigrants using up resources. Agreed. Um, boosted when you were 10. Washington does the same thing. There are homeless tents up and down our highways, garbage everywhere. That's what California was like. I went out to California years ago, probably 10 years ago. Um, and in the viaducts, those are homeless communities. Oh my gosh, it's cold in here. Um, my doctor boosted me because I kept getting canker sores. Boosted you for what? For smallpox? For canker sores, methylene blue is incredible. Um, It's one of my favorite go-tos. Never got them again after the booster. Interesting. Do not mind me says anyone else noticed that right after the census was over, how all these big cities started backing away from being sanctuary cities? It was all political ploy to cheat electoral representation. Oh, I'm sure. Well, they're still sanctuary cities. They just don't want any immigrants. Um, my hamster does better than Dr. Fauci. Debbie, you were sick around. Oh, I was sick around a month and a half. Yeah, it was 53 days. It was horrible. Oh my gosh. But we learned a lot through my illness. We learned so much together. I mean, I had thousands and thousands, and I had a much bigger following than I have here. I had, I mean, I would have 10,000 views on a video. It was crazy. Um, but I mean, we worked together. We dug through that data. I don't know how I did it as sick as I was. I taught from my bed. All my videos were from my bed. I couldn't even get up. I was so weak. Was on oxygen. It was crazy. Yes, I have noticed how big the McGroin movement has gotten. I saw somebody the other day, Holden, who had oh, what was it? Holden Muscrotum. I thought that one was great. You have dozens of followers. You don't put it. Do you do any videos, Holden, or people just follow you because they love that you hold your groin? So many McGroins. It's true. Uh, yeah, you got famous on the Dan Bongino show. So they gave you IV push hydrogen peroxide. It works. It's also, you know what else IV push hydrogen peroxide is good for? It's great for atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries. It dissolves those plaques in the arteries. I wish we knew somebody around here who did it because I would take Don in because his blood pressure is so high. I've been miserable since getting COVID November 22nd and been to many doctors who kept giving me anxiety scripts. I knew, well, it's because you have a vagina, honey. Um, if you're having a bunch of trouble and you have a penis, a doctor is a lot more likely to try to figure out what's wrong with you. If you have a vagina, you're a lot more likely to have it written off to anxiety. It's just true. Um, Smallpox, really? That's interesting. The brand of methylene blue, let's see which one it is I use. Just make sure you get a USP grade. It doesn't really matter what brand, just 1% USP methylene blue. Methylene blue. I use any other time the shopping link would come right up. Now you can't take methylene blue if you're on antidepressants, the SSRI type of antidepressants. And you can't take it if you've got G6PD deficiency. I can't remember if there's one other thing. Hold on, methylene blue, Amazon. Yeah, I use the BPH brand, like Bob Paul Harvey. BPH methylene blue 1%. It's $28. And then I just bought these little tablets. I'll have to look at what those are, or this little powder, and I can now mix it up myself, and that goes a lot longer. It makes 100 milliliters versus the 50 milliliters. Um, but yeah, when we go camping, I was in a bad way. Oh my gosh, I was scary sick. Everybody thought I was going to die. People would message me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, when you didn't get, on by noon today, I was worried you were dead. I get up every morning just to look for your videos and make sure you're not dead." That's how. If you guys go to my Facebook page, those videos are public and they're in my stored videos. I don't know how you find them, but they're. I'll have to show you. I'll pull the pictures out here in a second. Um, but yeah, that's the brand I use, the BPH methylene blue 1%. Uh, by the grace of God, you never had COVID. That's awesome. You might just have a. Don lived with me and never got sick until uh, end of January, beginning of February of 2022, and we both got it again. Well, he got it for the first time. The vaginal type are still trying to recover from the hysterics diagnosed from way back when. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, I would not get any flu shots. I think they're going to combine this next flu shot. I am betting, if not this year, I would bet by 2025 at the latest, they're going to combine RSV, the flu shot, and the COVID shot. And I wouldn't take a flu shot anyway. They did a study years ago. It was on PubMed, where they looked at people, high risk people who got the flu shot, and they were more likely to die than if they didn't get it. So they're trying to bring back COVID. Yeah, good job. I'm not. I, do you think a lot of people will fall for it again? I can't imagine people going back down that road again after everything we've learned. Got my Rogers salt and iodine. Can't drink OJ because of IC. I tried it in my coffee. Bit salt and coffee was not good. No, I use the Lugel's iodine. I put a. I'm up. You have to work up slow, but I put a dropper and a half in some lemonade, and that works really well. And I add the salt right to that. Don't take it with vitamin C, and don't drink it in your coffee because your coffee has phytic acid, and phytic acid keeps the body from being able to absorb iodine. I saw that lady who took Fauci's place squawking about masks again. I know. I know. Surely that's going to fall on deaf ears. There's about 3 dozen. I don't do flu shots. No, me neither. I'm allergic to them. Oh, they're already in. So are the combined? Well, now last year they did a flu shot that was a. No, that's not right. Last year they did a COVID shot that was a bivalent. So it has the first spike in it, and then the Omicron spike in it. Um, and a lot of people thought that was a combined flu COVID shot. It wasn't. That was just a COVID shot. So I'll look that up though and see if they've combined it with the flu shot yet. Or if you've got a link, just pop it in there and I'll look. Debbie says, when I had stage 4 metastatic cancer, before surgery, my male doctor wrote in my record that I was a moderately obese, anxious white woman. At that time, I was 35 and still looked good in a bikini. I read my chart one time and it said, well-nourished white woman. I'm like, you don't, just because I'm a little fluffy, you don't know that I'm well-nourished. I could have a horrible diet. They equivocate weight with being well-nourished. I'm like, not necessarily. I cannot believe I have not seen anybody. Well, that's not true. I bet in the last 6 months I've seen 3 people in masks. Uh, Mask holes. I know people are dumb and believe what the news tells them, but at some point you've got to say to yourself, I can't live like this. That's what I would. I mean, you guys, I went to people's houses, so I'd get a call at 11 o'clock in the morning. Somebody had Delta and they were crashing, and I would gather all the stuff up for the protocol, drive to their house, go in, breathe deep. I'm like, I want to be exposed to every variant of this, so I have really strong immunity, and it's worked. Wow, your family still wears masks, RJ. That's crazy. Not this year, FD. Okay. Is that from this year? Hold on, let me look that up. Ah, hold on. CBS News. Well, for the love of Pete. On my phone, so I can't just type it in or click on it. Flu COVID combo shots. Yeah, that was March 2nd. They won't come in this year. Let's see what this says. What new hell do they have planned for us? I'll fix it next time. Yes, okay. Let's see here. Vaccines that offer protection against both COVID-19 and influenza with a single shot will likely not be ready in time for this year. However, tweaks to update the current COVID vaccines and drugs are, oh yeah, I bet they are. The Food and Drug Administration's top vaccine official, Dr. Peter Marks, has previously said in September that vaccines to cover both viruses could be deployed this year. But at a webinar this week, this was in March, by the National Foundation for Infectious Disease, he acknowledged that it was too heavy a lift for the fall, ending hopes of a combined option. Who was hoping for this combined option? I know every time I go out in the street, people are clamoring. They're like, where's my combined flu and COVID shot? And I know people who were not injured by the first COVID shot, and I would bet money they'll get this. It's crazy. I don't know how you would have it this soon anyway, because it's a little early to predict what you're going to need in that flu shot, what variants are going to be circulating. Pfizer, Moderna, and Novavax, of course, have all announced plans to pursue trials of standalone flu vaccines. Oh, so they're just going to remake the flu. That'll be nice. In addition to versions combined with their COVID-19 shot, but they're not expecting it until 2025. Okay. Well, oh, wait, there's the RSV. Hold on, let's see what that says. Do not get an RSV vaccine. Do not get your baby an RSV vaccine. The babies that got the RSV vaccine in the trial, and it's not really a vaccine, it's like an antibody thing or something. But they had all kinds of issues. 2 babies died. Do not let them sell you on this thing. 99% of babies recover from RSV. Okay, it says, I was looking for that. A combo shot could also simplify an increasingly complex annual vaccination schedule ahead of the expected rollout of new RSV vaccines to protect against respiratory syncytial virus, which may need to go into arms around the same time. You know what gets me is they're not checking. Yes, they've done very minimal safety studies with the RSV vaccine in all healthy people, but they're going to give it to babies and to older people who typically aren't all that healthy. But they're not checking to see if this RSV, well, they will check. They'll do it in a big public thing like they did with COVID to see if you have more adverse events when you're combining these vaccines, when you're not necessarily in the same shot, but you're taking a flu shot in this arm, an RSV shot in this arm, a COVID shot in this arm, which is exactly how they'll do it. So I'm just waiting to see how many people drop dead from that. It's absolutely insane. I'm hoping some people have woken up to what's going on here. Can't have anything with citric acid. Okay. I would. Iodine doesn't have citric acid. I don't think methylene blue does either. Holden McGroin hasn't had a head cold in 10 years. I'm telling you, you've got some incredible Don's like that. Don almost never gets sick. Knock on wood. In their defense, my son-in-law is really debilitated from something. He's dizzy, fatigue, gets short of breath with activity, has to stop to catch his breath, blood pressure, pulse fluctuates. That sounds like POTS syndrome, POTS syndrome. He needs to have a tilt table test to see if that sounds exactly like POTS syndrome. I would put money on that. He needs to see a cardiologist and get a tilt table test. Come to Houston, 104 outside. Wow. And about 10% of people wearing masks. Wow, that's a huge number. I'm amazed. I don't go out a lot, but still. Maybe well-nourished is used to describe us larger chested ladies. Maybe, I don't know. I guess they can't just write big tits in the chart, right? That would be wrong. I've seen pendulous breasts written in charts, usually in charts where a person is having surgery to the breast, though. You think it's from the shot? Well, the shot can cause POTS syndrome, so he needs to be checked for POTS syndrome because that can be serious. His heart rate can drop to such a level that he can lose consciousness. There's all kinds of, he needs to be checked. He needs to see a cardiologist. Especially if he's vaxxed, he needs to see a cardiologist to make sure he could have had some subclinical myocarditis that's causing this, or he could have POTS syndrome. Best friend had blood clots from the shot. Wow, you guys. Everybody I know that got vaxxed are sick all the time. Yeah, I'm bracing myself for the future too. All of our kids got it. I have not asked if our grandkids got it because I couldn't. I just can't know. I won't get any peace if I know that. And I'm just praying they all got good batches. POTS from the shot. Yes, absolutely POTS from the shot. I've seen POTS from flu shots too. All right, I think I'm caught up. They diagnosed him with migraines. He really needs to be checked for. Ask if he's had a tilt table test, um, and that will rule out POTS syndrome. Um, I would have him screened for Epstein-Barr virus because COVID can reactivate that, and so can the shots. So he may have had an Epstein-Barr infection in the past that was mild and doesn't know it, and then the Epstein-Barr may be reactivated and cause all kinds of stuff like that. Then the other thing I would suggest would be maybe vagal nerve dysfunction. Um, the spike protein can attack the vagus nerve, which is a nerve that runs. I know I've told this a million times, but not everybody was here all the time. Um, your vagus nerve runs from your brainstem to your butthole, and it innervates every organ system in your body. So when I see somebody who has these wandering symptoms, they have, oh, thank God that went off. They have brain fog, they've got dizziness, shortness of breath. So you got brain fog, so you have neurological, um, dizziness is neurological, shortness of breath. A lot of times they'll have GI disturbances, diarrhea, things like that, or just stomach cramping or nausea. Um, yeah, that can be a lot of vagal issues. And so you can get online. First of all, there is you got to figure out what's wrong with him. But if it's a vagal nerve issue, you can do high dose thiamine and sodium reduced alpha lipoic acid is incredible for nerve regeneration. So I would do like a high dose B complex and then but find out what's wrong with him first. Lady Jex, hubby and both have the main vax, then booster, bless your heart, um, and flu shot at same time. We've not been sick at all. Extremely lucky. Wow, yeah. You're dodging bullets there. Um, look up your you can go to howbadismybatch.com and you can type in your lot numbers and see if you got a lot that's inert. So there are these lots that 90% of the deaths and injuries come from 10% of the lot numbers. So if you guys had a shot, somebody you know had a shot and you're just agonizing about it, um 90% or yeah, 90% of the lots didn't cause really any problems. Only 10% did. So you can put your mind at ease because statistically you're more likely to be in the group of people that are in the 90% of shots that didn't have problems, as opposed to the 10% of shots that caused 90% of the illness and death. So if you go to howbadismybatch.com, you can get your shot record out and look on there. There's a lot number on it. And you just type in your lot number and it'll tell you whether you got a bad batch or not. So my brother got the bad batch of Johnson & Johnson, or a dose from a bad batch. My mom got a bad shot from, I want to say hers was Moderna. Hers was in a bad batch too, and they're both injured. Um, my daughter insisted we get the shots before we could see the new grandson. So that's hostage like, you know what I mean? What are you going to do? Not see your kids? That's the only reason my parents did it. My mom was crying. She's like, I feel like if we don't do it, we'll never see our grandkids and our great grandkids ever again. And then 48 hours off the second Moderna vaccine, my mom's in the hospital with myocarditis and brain swelling. Luckily, she survived it. Um, but I let my son know that I felt it was related to the vaccine. Dr. McCullough, even, I talked to Dr. McCullough and he felt it was related. Gypsy Princess says, I think my parents got inert batches. They have so far not had any issues. Mom and stepdad, dad and stepmom. Well, hopefully they can look them up if they're nervous. I always tell people, don't guess, look it up, because it'll either tell you definitely you should be worrying, or, you have a very high likelihood of not needing to worry because you're okay. Okay, so the illegal Chinese lab thing is getting worse. Um, the story of the Chinese linked biolab discovered operating illegally in California may even be worse than you think, especially when you consider China's brazen activities on American soil and the country's role in the coronavirus pandemic. For those unfamiliar with the story, they had the Reedley, that's what it was, Reedley, California, discovered an illegal biolab. Okay, if you guys have been with me for any length of time, why would you need DTaP? You shouldn't need DTaP. You should need whooping cough, not DTaP. So for anybody not following this, in Reedley, California, there was an illegal biolab. Okay, well, let me explain to you how this works. This biolab, people think it was illegal because they didn't report it to the government. The government didn't know about it. That's not why it's illegal. It's illegal because it broke local codes. Um, so there are codes involved. I can open up a biolab tomorrow and I don't have to tell the government. Um, and I read this. I pulled it. I'm going to go over it more at length, but I pulled this. It was like the documentation from a hearing on. Oh, I can't remember who it was, but a governmental hearing, and it was 2012, 2013, and they were talking about how there are all these labs, and they're not required to register with the government, and they're allowed to do their own oversight. And so they're like, you've got a lab that's not doing things the way they should, and they're responsible for their own oversight, and they don't have to report to the government. So the government doesn't even know where they all are in this country. If you want to know the ones that are listed in this country, you can Google USA Today biolabs, and then you can just type in the city or the state, and it'll show you all the biolabs that are registered close to you. And then you can actually FOIA them and find out but in the USA Today thing where you can go do that, it'll tell you if the lab told them what it was they were working on. And I don't know if they update that. I'm guessing maybe not, because that was an older article. But you can at least see what was there then, and most of those, don't go anywhere. So the lab was only discovered because an inspector noticed a garden hose hooked up to the warehouse. It took 76 days and 14 different agencies to inspect and clean up the facility from April to July earlier this year. April to July, you guys. It's August. We are just now hearing about this. The lab and samples belong to Universal MedTech, and I tried to find more information. I researched this week on this and couldn't find anything more on this company or the people. A company that was taken over by Prestige Biotech, one of its creditors. According to NBC News, officials were unable to get any California-based addresses. No, it's all out of Nevada. For either company, except for the previous Fresno location from which UMI had been evicted. According to court documents, the only addresses given to officials were empty offices or unverified Chinese addresses. Prestige Biotech is a Chinese medical company that is registered in Nevada, if you like. But perhaps the biggest piece of this story that has gone under the radar is the company's future plans. In March, Universal MedTech applied to occupy Wait, and do you guys know what they were doing in this warehouse? They were building COVID antigen tests and pregnancy tests. And their COVID antigen tests. So when these antigen tests came out, do you remember these were the tests that could tell you if you had a previous exposure to COVID? And so people were getting those because they wanted to know they had some immunity. Well, most of those they were all EUA. So you didn't have to prove it worked or anything. You just wrote up that you thought it worked or whatever. The guidelines were incredibly horrible. Most of them lost hundreds and hundreds of them lost their emergency use authorization because they didn't turn in the paperwork because they knew that they were not any good. And they got pulled from the market. And this company had some of these tests that were pulled. So in March, Universal MedTech applied to occupy a warehouse and office space at 3900 North Blatella Lane in Fresno, California. The company previously operated in Fresno with a fire breaking out at the previous location. What is with the spacing on this thing? Stop it. Where hazardous conditions were evident throughout the biolab. Why is 3900 North Blatella Lane notable? Because that would put the Chinese-linked biolab and its infectious agents and bioengineered COVID mice right next to Fresno Yosemite International Airport, which is also home to the Fresno Air National Guard Base. Don't worry about those balloons flying over. No big deal. This should be a national scandal, or at the very least, a national concern. We already know that China operates secret police stations across the world, including the US. Now we know that a Chinese medical company was running an illegal biolab dealing with infectious diseases and bioengineered super spreader rodents. The rodents were bred to spread the virus, and was planning on moving its operations right next to an airport that transports nearly 1 million passengers a year, primarily to Las Vegas, Dallas, and Denver. The Chinese lab leak of COVID that started the pandemic should have been a red flag that Chinese biomed operations have been incompetent at best and far more sinister at worst. The operations and attempted operations of this illegal biolab in California should now be a blaring siren that the United States must wake up on this matter. If you've been watching me any length of time, I have said over and over again that I think this was a simultaneous release because the spread does not make sense. I think it was released in China, and I think it was released here at the same time. I don't know if our government was involved. It would not surprise me. Um, but I don't know that. I can't say that either way. It wouldn't surprise me a bit to find out China was involved. Um, yes, it was the whooping cough one. Yeah, that's okay. RJ says, Marie, they could get past the first few words of my opposition, and I'm a nurse with 33 years of experience. Bless your heart. Denver and Dallas are big cities. Oh, I got to hold on. I never eat on my show, except for the one time when my blood sugar crashed during book club. That was exciting. And I didn't even eat then. I drank orange juice. But look what my sweetheart brought me. Do you guys want to know what kind of cookies are in here? I'm going to tell you. Hold on a little minute. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a bite of each one. It's so good to be alive. It's so good to be a grown-up. Oh, wait, my comments went off on YouTube. I'm sorry, YouTube people. Hi, Ashley. Oh, hi, AJ. Hi, Sherry. You guys, I did not mean to neglect you. My comments section clicked off. I am so sorry. Can you say more about methylene blue? Okay, so we covered that. You can get it on Amazon. I've not ever been able to find it anywhere locally. Bananas lowered my grandmother's blood pressure. Yeah, he eats bananas every day because he gets leg cramps. And the day he had the nosebleed, his blood pressure was 210 over 108, I want to say. And then while we were camping, it was 180 something systolically, which, we should go to the emergency room with it that high. But I was able to get it down. Oh, well, hold on. I'll show. Hold on. I'm getting to you guys are excited about the cookies. I can't blame you. Okay, hold on. My family and I had influenza A last winter. I thought I was going to die. I'm always unsure of whether or not. Don't get the flu shot. And you can do the COVID protocol for flu. Any respiratory virus, the COVID protocol will work for. You can just go to my website, witthealthcoaching.com, and there's a free download on there. Unless you're 13-year-old, this is not medical advice, but unless my 13-year-old were super tiny, I would even use the adult doses on there. If my 13-year-old got it. But I found with COVID, if I only could use one thing for COVID, it would be the nebulizer treatment. It's just what we do, 2 drops of 3% hydrogen peroxide in distilled water with 1 drop of 2% Lugol's iodine, and you can do that hourly until it's done. And that pretty much knocked it out in everybody within 48 hours. It worked great. Debbie Bender used the nebulizer. She and John used it, and they left the hospital against medical advice because they were scared the hospital was going to kill them. And we got them through it, and they told them if they went home they'd die, but I wasn't going to have that. Yum cookies. Okay, these cookies are from the Great American Cookie Company in our mall. And my husband left work after working in this heat all day in Friday traffic and drove to the mall and got these cookies for me. I couldn't say anything to anyone because they would not let me talk. Finally, Dr. McCullough articulated everything I was trying to say. I finally felt, I bet. Yeah, RJ, that had to be hard. I was right out there. March 14th, 2020, I was on the internet telling my story. I can't imagine having to keep silent about it. Oh yeah, the hospital was already well on their way to trying to kill Miss Debbie, but we put a stop to that. Okay, this is oatmeal raisin. I mean, who doesn't love? I know a lot of people don't like raisins. Oh, they're so yummy. These, I know I have no manners. It's my birthday. I don't have to have manners. Okay. I'm seriously going to take a bite of each one. There goes that 5 pounds I lost this week. I really did. Isn't that great? Oh, that's what I was going to tell you. Pardon my talking with food in my mouth. So every time I get out in the heat, I don't know if you guys do this, but I gain a ton of water weight, like 7 or 8 pounds. My ankles are just huge. I can push on my shin bone and I'll have like +3 pitting edema, which means you got a big dent where you pushed on your shin bone. And let me take that comment off there. That's yummy. So I took methylene blue. Oh, because I had a sunburn, and I thought I'm going to take some methylene blue for pain, because I can't really take Tylenol. It messes up my liver, and I'm allergic to NSAIDs. So I took methylene blue, and it did help with the sunburn pain. And I started diuresing, which, peeing. Within 3 days of being on the methylene blue, I lost 7 pounds of fluid, and my electrolytes didn't get out of whack or anything. So I was glad for that. Oh, see, Marie likes oatmeal raisin. Oh, you weren't silent. You were silenced. I found you through Dr. McCullough. You found me through Dr. McCullough? That's so cool. Okay, this one. Uh-oh. What did I do there? Hold on. I broke something. Let's try this again. There we go. Okay, this one. Pause it. Okay. This one is chewy. Chewy something. Chewy pecan. I don't know what these are. When I was a kid, I worked at a place called Coastal Cookie in the mall. My mom worked there too. And we made Ranger cookies. I'd never had Ranger cookies. They were so good. These are chewy pecan. I should have had them write it down. But I love these things. I've never seen them anywhere else. And hold on, I'll show you. Look at this. They're like super moist. Can you see that? They're just, am I killing you? I'm sorry. I'm not really. But these are incredible. Oh yeah, he's a good man. I was going to have him bring cake, but that's hard to eat on the air. Maybe I need a methylene blue. 5 pounds in a week. Yeah. Oh, those are so good. Sorry, I don't mean to crunch in your ear. Oatmeal with butterscotch chip cookie. Oh, I've never had that. That sounds amazing. Pecan. They're chewy pecan. Oh my gosh. I don't even want to try the other ones. That's it. There's chocolate chip. I feel like you've had one chocolate chip cookie. You've had all the chocolate chip cookies you ever need. I know there are going to be people who disagree with me vehemently. Go ahead. You'll still be wrong. Just kidding. Vinegar applied. You know what I used, Sherry? I used Vicks Vapor Rub. So I have this thing that looks like it's like a strip of fabric. It's real soft, like velour or something. It's got 2 handles on it, and you put your lotion or your oil on the back of it, and then you set it on the table behind you, and it's got 2 little handles, and you grab it, and you do it like a towel across your back, and it gets your lotion all back up for you. Methylene blue cookies. No, methylene blue tastes terrible. If you're going to take it, put it in a capsule. I buy the 000 sized veggie caps and just fill that sucker up and take one. What's the name of the cookie company again? This is the Great American Cookies. And I think they ship. You guys are so cute. All right, next story. But the cookies are so good. Oh, I got to do a podcast. I'm not on here to eat cookies, you guys. We'll put that 7 pounds of fluid back on, or however much it was in cookie weight. Oh, baby be so worth it. It won't be. I'm doing my the documentary film next week. And so I ordered 3 dresses, all a disaster. Um, I don't know why they make these. You know how they make the dress that looks like Holden McGroin, you're going to learn a lot here, buddy. They make these dresses that look like wrap dresses, but they're not wrap dresses. And this part that comes together, is kind of lower cut, and it never lays quite right. Sorry, I'm smacking away. It never lays quite right, and so then it keeps trying to go down, and I'm like, there's no. I'm going to be tugging at this dress the whole interview and be so self conscious, so I can't do that, or the whole filming. Um, and so I couldn't do that one. Then I kind of liked the one that was sleeveless, but I just cannot get past the waggle in my arms. Um, and so I ordered one more dress. If that doesn't work, screw it. I'm wearing jeans. Um, I say it's your birthday one day that all's yours and everybody needs to kiss your butt. Marie. You're so funny. Um, put methylene blue in grape juice. I just don't like it because it stains my mouth, and if I put it in a capsule, it doesn't stain anything. Um, but you do however you want. I'm cool with that. Okay. Biden administration incandescent light bulb ban takes effect. I am not exactly sure why I need the government to intervene in my choice of light bulbs. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, our government pollutes way more than we do. Our government has a incredibly huge carbon footprint. I mean, they just blew up the pipeline over there. I got to think my incandescent bulbs are not the damn problem. And it drives me crazy because if I'm going to be in a room, I just prefer, um, that just seems like a more natural light to me. I mean, I have LED lights. I got an LED light blaring in my face right now. Um, but I mean, do you guys just prefer the feel and the, kind of the way an incandescent bulb lights a room? I just think it's more natural. It's prettier. It doesn't have that harshness to it. And I've tried like this LED, I can make more yellow, uh, like that. Oh, that made much of a difference. It hurts my eyes no matter what. A little more flattering, I suppose. But anyway, I just don't like them. We call that waggle arm the bingo wing. We call them bat wings. My grandson, Atlas, who I want to say was 4, um, he's sitting next to me and he grabs the skin under my arm and he's like, "What is this?" And I said, "Oh, those are my bat wings." And he's like, "What?" I said, "Well, I wasn't going to tell you till you're much older, but that extra skin stores my bat wings. And so at night, after everybody goes to sleep, that's when criminals like to come out and, steal things and do bad things. And so my wings pop out of there and I fly around and I stop crime. And, I don't shoot anybody or anything like that. I just fly in real fast and knock them down. And then I pin them down with my wing and hold them there until the police get there and then take them away." And so then he's like looking under his arm to see if he's got them. And I'm like, "Oh, yep, look there. When you get older, you'll have a bat wing. I can feel you've inherited that little bit of extra skin." And so now he believes that. And I'm probably going to hell for lying to my grandkid. I think there are studies linking the green light bulbs to cancer. I like the yellow or more, yeah, I like the golden tone too. I just think if it's giving you a headache, it's probably not good for you. Um, I read that LEDs increase EMF radiation. I wonder how much more they put off than, like, if they're worried, like they're wanting to cancel the whole gas stove thing for whatever reason. And I'm like, really? Do you know how much EMF radiation an electric stove puts off? I actually looked at the manual on an electric stove, and it says to stand 6 feet back from it while it's in operation. How the hell are you supposed to cook your dinner from 6 feet away? But we need to get rid of gas stoves. It makes no sense. Um, been trying to get rid of all our LEDs. Yeah. Yes, they radiate and they have a flicker. You're right. And a lot of people can really sense that flicker and it really bothers them. And people say, oh, that's crazy. And I'm like, what? People are incredibly sensitive to things. And I find that people who are really empathetic tend to notice environmental things and be more negatively affected by them when they're not as they should be. I think we're all affected, but your empaths are really affected by it. Um, RJ says, you get your storytelling from your mom. I remember you telling us about her telling your son about the little boy that this was my mom was on a ladder painting, and yes, my son was there, and she farted. And David looked at her and he's like, "Grandma, did you fart?" And she was like, "No, women do not fart. You farted, and it was so loud that it bounced off my butt." And he believed her for the longest time. He thought that was true. That's actually, I get my storytelling from my dad. My mom, that's the only one I've ever heard my mom come up with. When we were kids, my dad, and I remember sitting at the table for this, my dad and my mom were talking about how humid it was out. And he said, well, if it gets much more humid, we could have snow. And this was like June or July or something. It was summer. And she's like, what? And he is such a good BSer, right? He's a person who could just talk about, he knows enough about most things, and then with the BS he can get through any conversation. But he's standing there and he's like, yes, Margot, think about it. If the humidity gets up high enough, the air becomes so saturated with moisture, and if you have any kind of shift in temperature, a little cold front come through, you can actually have snow in the summer from the humidity. And I remember being a kid sitting there thinking, that doesn't, I mean, little, like 6, thinking that doesn't, I don't think that doesn't seem right to me. He told my brother when we were little, he told my brother that they're in their previous life. It's funny that past lives, I heard from these about from my dad. He told my brother that in their past life, my brother was the dad and my dad was the son. And um, that my brother was my dad's sergeant, and my dad was in the military, and he met my mother, who was an Indian squaw, and he fell in love with her, and he gave 6 horses and a toaster, and that's how he got my mother. And then when they got married, they had John, and then John became the son, my brother. And that I was the result of the postman. The postman came by and my mom had an affair with him, and I was the postman's child. And from the time I was like 5 until I was 9, I was convinced I was adopted. I mean, convinced. I was looking for paperwork. I like when they weren't home, I would go through files and stuff to see if there were adoption papers in there. And I remember being mad at my parents one day, like as a teenager or something. And I thought, I was always so upset at the idea that I was adopted. But now I kind of hope I'm adopted. Oh, he would be good. Oh yeah, Balderdash is great. Gosh, I haven't played that in years. Don doesn't play games. He does lots of other great stuff, but he doesn't play games, and I love to play games. I'm gonna have to find some people who play games. We'll have to figure out a way to do it in live stream mode. That would, like Zoom, I guess we could you do that in Zoom? I guess everybody would have to have a board. I don't know how that would work. I know that during COVID, though, they had Zoom, like, board game nights. I have no idea how they did it. That would be super fun. I'm sure the cartels would be happy to supply us. Wait, what are we getting from the cartels? No idea that. Oh, I wonder if we can order incandescent light bulbs from Mexico. Well, I mean, are they going to be in any count when you get them once they've traveled through the mail? And I mean, think about, you'd have to pack them up special. It would cost more to ship them than they're worth. When we heard about this, so they first started talking about this during Obama. And so Don started hoarding light bulbs. So if you're in a real big jam for a light bulb, we've got a bunch stored up. Okay, we're not going to eat any more cookie, but that was really good. Oh, I love those. They make a good double chocolate, but they didn't have any. All the people not having a birthday probably got them. Greedy monsters. They're probably wearing masks too. Hold on, I don't want those to fall off the table. Um, Gypsy Princess, look, I got my beets. I don't know if you were here at the beginning. I haven't opened them yet. Because I've just been super busy, but I'm excited to do it. Look, they're so pretty. They're just I'm real super curious about what they're going to taste like. I will definitely try them. No, the ban is everywhere. Oh no. What? You're getting me. So even the people in other countries bought into this. Oh, those sneaky bastards. Does Don have a brother who's single? No, Don has one sister, and she's liberal as they come. Um, Probably one of the most liberal people. I don't know what happened. The gene pool got messed up there. I guess I'll be switching to candlelight. There are a number of board games converted to online play. What? Probably can find something on Steam. You guys, that would be so fun. Hold on, Steam. What? You guys are so smart. How do you know this stuff? I'm so glad I know you all. I learned so much on this show. This is a weird web page. Okay. Ticket to Ride. I've never heard of these games. Battle Lore. What are these games? Yeah, there's like 5. Hold on, let me see if the other one had more. PC board games. Lists. There we go. Let's see what they've got. There's no lists. Okay, they've got Everdell. I've never heard of that. Chess with lasers. Steam Rails. They're not any games that I've ever heard of. Game of Thrones. Yeah, they're not like the traditional board games or even card games. Like I would imagine you could do cards online. There's got to be a way to do that. Yeah, these are all like fantasy type games. Um, I don't know what they're based off of. It doesn't say. There's not one here that I've ever heard of. And they've got 82 listed. No, none of them. I mean, like not. There's a really good board game. Oh, there's Monopoly Plus. Uno. All right, there we go. They've got Uno, Monopoly Plus, the best-selling game that was intentionally designed to be terrible ever. um, Uno says the biggest problem with the PC version of Uno is you can't argue about the rules that you've never read. I actually read the rules to Uno. They've got Life. I wouldn't want to play that. All right, there's got it. So there's a Mensa game called Blockus. You guys ever played Blockus? It's a great game. What you do is there's these little blocks. I can't remember what the board is shaped like. It's been a long time since I played. And everybody's got a color. If you're playing with 2 people, you can play 2 colors each, and you can only touch at the corners, and so you're trying to build across and I can't remember what the goal of it is, but anyway, it's an addictive game. Great to help teach kids strategy and stuff. I've never met a little kid that didn't like the game. And I'm thinking like 8-year-old and up. Think sweet and sour. Okay. Yeah, because you said there's cinnamon and what else in the beets? It sounded like something that would be like a fall type food. Search for they had Monopoly. I didn't see Risk. I've actually never played Risk. I used to play interactive Scrabble with family and friends on Facebook games. I did too, Debbie. That's been a long time ago. Gypsy Princess has Blockus. It's such a fun game. If you don't have it, get Blockus. Your kids will love it. Even my grown kids, they're like, "Oh yeah, we should play Blockus." And then there's the what's the game? Oh, I can't. It's like a horrible card game, and there's horrible scenarios. Oh, I can't remember what that one is called. Clove, that's it. Um, I can't remember what that game is called. T- In a black box. Anyway, it's you can't play it with your little ones up, but okay. So now we're going to talk about vitamin K2 because I wanted to give you guys some helpful information. I've been preaching about K2 for several years now. Um, most Americans are deficient in K2, and it is very problematic because being deficient in vitamin K2 causes plaques to build up in the arteries. So you've got your arteries, you have your endothelial cells. We've talked about this before. Oh, I like taboo too. Um, you have endothelial cells. Um, and in these endothelial cells get dysfunction over time. So plaque gets in there, which is made of calcium. You can have fatty deposits from having elevated triglycerides. It's not so much the cholesterol as it is the triglycerides, and it causes this tissue inside that lines the cells to develop endothelial dysfunction. And so, just think of if you poured cement or whatever inside a hose, the hose would become stiff and not able to expand and relax as well, which causes hypertension, which causes cardiac issues, which causes hypertension in the lungs. All the vessels in your body can be involved. It can cause kidney problems. And part of this is induced because so many doctors will put women on vitamin D2, which you should not take, should always be vitamin D3. Um, D2 will get your numbers up, but it does not help with immunity, and it is really bad about depositing in the arteries. D3, vitamin D3, is much better. It actually improves immunity. They'll tell you that a normal range for your vitamin D level is between 30 and 100. I don't like to see anybody under 50. I prefer 70 to 100. Your doctor will get all weird if you're near 100 because they worry that your calcium will get too high. Well, the only way your calcium will get too high if you're taking vitamin D3, I mean, barring some sort of kidney issue that's causing it, is that you're not taking K2. K2 is like the traffic cop. So when you take vitamin D and calcium, things like that, when you take that, um, vitamin K2 tells it not to go into the blood vessels. It tells it to go into the bones and wherever else it needs to go. And so it doesn't get deposited in your arteries. Very, very important. So if you are taking vitamin D, it should be D3. If you're on the prescription D2, oh, thank you for the gift, GB Mac. If you're taking D2, I want you to tell your doctor, ask your doctor if there's a reason they've not switched you to D3. Um, they'll tell you D2 is just as good. Just Google it a little bit and you'll find evidence to the contrary. Um, During COVID, we found people that were taking D2 did not do as well as people who were taking D3. The same with flu, the same with cardiac disease, all kinds of things. So definitely D3 is what you want to be on. Um, and you always want to take K2 with it. And so you want to take somewhere between 98 micrograms to 600 micrograms of K2. How do you decide how much? Well, a lot of it is dependent on how much D3 you're taking. So if you're taking 5,000 milligrams of D3, you want to take at least 98 micrograms of K2. If you're taking 10,000 of D3, which some people are because they have trouble getting their vitamin D level up, um, you want to take at least 180 micrograms of D2. If you've got hypertension or you've got atherosclerosis, you've got high cholesterol, you can go up to as high as 600 micrograms of K2, and that's what I take. And that will help with your blood pressure. It will help clean out the plaques that are built up inside the arteries throughout your body. It'll help stabilize your cholesterol. It's protective to the brain. It normalizes blood clotting. It improves immunity. K2 is just an incredible, incredible supplement. And the amount of what's interesting is we are one of the biggest milk drinking, calcium consuming countries in the world. But because we drink homogenized, pasteurized milk and all the enzymes, you're drinking dead milk basically. All the enzymes are killed in it. Therefore, the enzymes help you digest the milk. It helps you assimilate the calcium and the vitamin D. So we drink all this milk, but we still have all this osteoporosis. Well, that's why, because we don't drink raw milk. If you can get raw milk, I would recommend it. Um, but it's illegal in many states to sell. The other way you could go about that is look for herd, Herd, herd shares in your area. And if you buy into herd shares of a cow, then you're allowed to have that milk, even if it's illegal to sell milk, you can have it. Um, and then that will be much better for you. Whole milk always over low fat milk, because whole milk, because the way they process low fat milk causes all kinds of issues in the body. A lot of people think, they're drinking skim or they're drinking 2%. I have a nice glass water bottle. I bought a pack of these. Um, they're drinking 2% milk, thinking that, wow, I've really reduced the amount of fat because I'm drinking 2% milk. I don't know if you know how much fat is in regular whole milk, not raw milk. Do you guys have a guess on, so if 2% milk is low fat, what percentage of fat would you think is in whole milk? Just shoot me a percentage out there. Sherry says, I heard that most forms of vitamin D are made out of what would be chemically considered rat poison, and that is known to be causing kidney problems, rather or not it is D3 or D2. Yeah, I don't know about that. Most people I know who get on D3 really do have improvement in their parameters, and I don't see kidney issues. Now, you can have kidney issues if you're not taking K2 with it. I'll look that up though, Sherry. I'll take that under advisement and definitely research that. A lot. Give me a percentage. If low fat milk has 2% fat, how much fat do you think is in whole milk? What percentage? I challenge you. You guys kill me. You guys are really slow with your answers. That's demerits for everybody. All of you miss recess. Every single one of you. Come on. Nope, you're close though, Sonia. It's 4%. So you're only getting 2% less fat, and the way the milk is processed is horrible for you to get that fat out of it. So you're not getting fat because of whole milk. You're getting fat because of the cookies you're dipping in it. It's just that's the problem. So it's funny because I'll see people, they're like, oh no, I only drink skim or 2% milk. And I say, why? Oh, because of all the fat in whole milk. I'm like, there's only 4% fat in whole milk. It's not a high fat food at all. It's more satiating. Nope, it's only 4%. It's more satiating, so you'll eat less if you're drinking whole milk. Um, yeah, 4%. Isn't that crazy? So if you're drinking 2% milk, you're only cutting your fat by 2%, which is, when you're looking at that little bit of fat grams, it's nothing. I really need to start buying farm milk again. Yeah, I'm going to try to find low heat pasteurized, not homogenized milk. So some health food stores will sell low heat pasteurized, um, and then they don't homogenize it at all. I think that's right. Um, but if you can get raw milk and just shake the cream back into it, that's the best milk to drink. Now, of course, don't drink a gallon of it a day. Most adults don't drink a ton of milk unless you're Don Whitbroat, who that man goes to like a gallon every 2 days. We had a wonderful farm that delivers to our door every other week. Oh my gosh, Gypsy, where are you? Are you in Washington? Can't remember where you said you were. You're killing me, Smalls, with all your Amish people and your beets and your armpit butter. And Sherry says there's a Facebook group that specifically focused on the vitamin D poison thing. Yeah, I'm not seeing a bunch of people drop dead from vitamin D. I'll look into it though. Okay. So, I mean, I'm taking 10,000 milligrams, no, 10,000 international units of vitamin D3 a day. And I've been doing that for 3 years, and I'm doing pretty good. So I don't think it's poisoning me. Maybe it's the brand. I don't know. So vitamin K2 reduces atherosclerosis. Vitamin K2 blocks the progression of arterial thickening and stiffening. Studies show higher vitamin K2 intake reduces the risk of dying from heart disease by 57%. 57%. How many times has your doctor said to you, you have a family history of heart disease, or you're diabetic, or you have hypertension? We need to get you on vitamin K2. I'm going to guess no one is going to come back with that armpit butter. I think you should call it that. Um, in a new study, scientists have presented powerful evidence that vitamin K2 can reduce the progression of atherosclerosis, the blockage of the arteries that can lead to heart attacks and strokes. This is tremendous news for the millions of Americans who are at risk for cardiovascular disease, which remains the number one killer in the United States. You can reduce your risk by 57%. So you can show that people that have a higher intake of vitamin K2 have a 57% reduction in the risk of dying from cardiovascular disease and as much as an 81% reduction in non-vertebral fractures, so fractures outside of the spine. I cannot tell you how many people, how many women who have osteoporosis that are on these expensive infusions, injections, or pills for osteoporosis instead of just putting them on vitamin D3 and vitamin K2. They'll be on that and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm on vitamin D and calcium. And I'm like, are you on? This is why we see such a huge increase in heart disease, atherosclerosis, strokes, and heart attacks in women because doctors are, routinely will put women who have any kind of low bone density, will put them on vitamin D and calcium and these horrible drugs to help you retain your calcium, but never put them on K2. So all the calcium that they're taking in is not directed to the bones because they're deficient in K2. It's not that you have some disease that makes you not be able to keep your bones hardened. It's because you don't have K2 telling the calcium and the vitamin D to go to the bones and the teeth. Does that make sense? I mean, I just am amazed that doctors don't do this. I don't know why I'm amazed. I guess because I'm a ridiculous optimist. Um, so numerous studies have demonstrated that people with higher intakes of K2 have a reduced risk for cardiovascular disease. Intrigued by this connection, Polish researchers from the Medical University at Lodz teamed up with researchers from the names Maastricht University in the Netherlands and Poland's International Science and Health Foundation to determine if vitamin K2 supplementation could reduce the progression of existing atherosclerosis. So, not just preventing it, but reversing the already hardened arteries that we all have. And whether if you're over 50, you've got hardening in your arteries. If you don't, you're a damn anomaly. I mean, it's just they consider it normal at that point. Um, I'm like, it's not normal. It's like they'll tell you fatty liver disease. Oh, that's normal. Most Americans have that. It's not normal. Most Americans have it because they have horrible diets. Um, Fatty liver disease is when fat starts replacing the functional cells of your liver, and those cells don't convert back to working cells. You're losing liver function if you have a fatty liver. It is a serious disease. So numerous studies have demonstrated, we read that, the scientists evaluated the progression of atherosclerosis in a group of 42 patients with chronic kidney disease. These patients were ideal for this type of study because they're known to experience a rapid reduction in bone mineral density as a result of calcium loss from bone. They are also subject to so as they're losing that calcium from bone, it's building up in the arteries because there's not K2 in there telling it to stay in the bone. They're also subject to equally excessive deposits of calcium in tissues where it doesn't belong, particularly in the walls of major arteries. For the study, the subjects were divided into two groups. One group received vitamin K2, just 90 micrograms per day, plus vitamin D3, 400 international units, which is like the bottom basement dose. The second group received only vitamin D3. After 9 months, it was already evident that the subjects taking the combination of K2 and D3 experienced a slower progression of the common carotid intima media thickness, which is a measurement, which is a good indicator of atherosclerosis, as well as a predictor of cardiovascular episodes and death. Specifically, the thickness of the carotid, the major neck arteries, increased by 13.73% in the group taking vitamin D3 alone. But in the group taking both vitamins, it only increased by 6.32%. Now, Most people would not increase that much in that short of time, but these people have kidney disease. So this is huge. It cut it by over half. Um, remember, and they're on such a low dose. I would weigh up that. Remember that the group of subjects in this study have a tendency for an increased carotid intima media thickness as a result of calcium losses from bone. Findings from this Polish study were significant enough to merit published comments by other experts in the field. The experts observed that patients in the combined vitamin K2 D3 arm of the study already had more severe kidney disease, so they were already sicker, despite being randomly assigned to the treatment group. For some reason, the sicker people ended up in the K2 D3 group. This means that the group taking vitamin K2 along with D3 succeeded despite a less favorable starting point compared with the group taking only vitamin D3. Of course, while chronic kidney disease is common and deadly, patients with the disease are far from the only ones at risk for cardiovascular disease and bone loss arising from insufficient vitamin K2 intake. But given their extreme risk for those conditions, this patient population made an ideal test group. This I love when studies are designed well. So there's dual benefits. Numerous studies have shown that populations with higher daily vitamin K2 intake, more than 32 micrograms a day, I'm taking 600, have a 50% reduction in the risk of death from a cardiovascular disease compared to those with low intake. Calculated another way, for every 10 microgram per day increase in vitamin K2 intake, the risk of coronary heart disease falls by 9%. That's insane. There is not a drug on the market that can boast that. In another study, women with the highest intake of vitamin K2 were found to be at a 20% lower risk for coronary artery calcification compared with women who had the lowest intake levels. And they don't specify what the high intake was. Up here, they're saying more than 32 micrograms a day. I'm taking 600, so 32 is a pretty low dose. These benefits have been found to extend to bone health as well. Postmenopausal women taking 1,500 milligrams of calcium along with 45 milligrams of vitamin K2. I don't know what that is. Was 32, they said was minimum. Um, it should be micrograms, not milligrams. Daily experienced an increase in bone mineral density and a 55.9% reduction in inactive osteocalcin levels, a marker reported to be elevated in osteoporotic patients and related to an increased hip fracture risk. And how many people do you know that have hip fractures that are never put on D3K2? It's astounding. Another study showed that when 180 micrograms, which is generally where I tell people to start, not medical advice, just where I would start, of vitamin K2 daily was given for 3 years, it increased the amount of activated osteocalcin, produced significant improvements in bone mineral content and density, and increased bone strength. And I went and I looked at those numbers, and they're better than the drugs they have on the market for this. And there's no side effects. Okay, next study. Hold on, let me see where we're at here. Oh my goodness. Hold on. I got to get. Ah! Next study. Hold on, let me see where we're at here. Okay. Oh, you guys are chatty. Hold on. Oh, was drinking whole grass-fed milk, then you found out you're allergic to casein. That sucks. You're in central Kansas. Okay. There was a study, Don't Mind Me says, I remember reading where they compared children drinking whole milk versus low-fat milk and found that the children drinking whole milk weren't as overweight, right? Because the way that they defat the milk is very inflammatory. And inflammation is the root of all disease. Like, write that on your refrigerator. Inflammation is the root of all disease. My husband's Lady Jack says, my husband's granddad retired as a milkman. He worked for Smith Brothers. That's so cool. Marie says, I grew up on raw milk. It's so much better. Tennessee woman, my husband had 3 heart attacks and a mini stroke, then died of cancer. I am so sorry. Gypsy says, Dr. Mercola has preached D3K2 for years. The Rockefeller-funded medical schools don't teach nutrition. Preach, Gypsy Princess. Um, Tennessee woman, the docs had him taking Coumadin, so very little vitamin K in his diet. Yeah, he probably needed K1 and K2. Uh, can't make money on healthy people. We should make a t-shirt that says that. Can't make money on healthy people. Isn't that heartbreaking? It is, you know, I became a different person when COVID happened. I never thought I would look. My physical therapist came to the house after my shoulder surgery, and he's like, "Well, what do you think about this whole COVID thing?" And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the sound of it as it came out of my mouth. I heard it and was shocked. I said, "I never thought I'd say this, but your government is trying to kill you." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what has happened to me?" But I'm not wrong. It just blows my mind. And it broke my heart to see what was happening to people during COVID, because here we were using an over the counter protocol, no hydroxychloroquine, no ivermectin, and everyone was getting well. I had a patient that had viral sepsis. I mean, if he had gone to the hospital, he would have been on the ventilator and on remdesivir, and he would have died. And we got him turned around in 2 days. His oxygen saturation was like 78%. No health insurance, 6 kids. I got an urgent call, drove 2 hours over there, took them everything. The doctor had him on Tylenol around the clock. I'm like, why don't they just shoot you in the head? Tylenol is one of the worst drugs you can take. It reduces your glutathione levels, which causes huge amounts of inflammation in the body. And inflammation is what? The root of all disease. Back in the 80s, European scientists were trying to warn us that GMOs increase kidney and liver damage. You're right, Lady Be Good. And they're illegal in so many countries. How many supplements do I take a day? Not a bunch, actually. I take D3K2, so that's 2. And I used to take a combined form of that, but I've upped my K2 because my blood pressure was going up a little bit. And that seems to have settled it down. So I take D3, I take K2, I take selenium and iodine. I think that's it. I take methylene blue intermittently, like when I put on a bunch of fluid weight when it's hot. Methylene blue is a really good diuretic, so I'll take that. I usually just take it for like 4 days until the fluid's off. If I feel something coming, like I was doing a show a couple weeks ago, and my throat was hurting, the longer I sat here, the worse I felt. And I went up and I took methylene blue, and then the next morning I got up and I took a big old wallop of iodine and selenium, and I was fine by that afternoon. But that's really about it. Now I have things that I have on hand in case. I've got vitamin C, I've got silver, I've got peroxide. I'm trying to think what else. Colostrum. I have weird issues with my stomach since I had my weight loss surgery. And so if I'm having like a lot of heartburn, just miserable GI stuff, intestinal cramping, things like that, I'll start taking colostrum 2 or 3 times a day, and that helps. It's just a powder. But that's it. I don't take a lot regularly. And then I'm not on a lot of regular meds. I'm on leothyronine, which is a T3 type of thyroid medicine. It's not Synthroid or levothyroxine. Um, I take hydroxychloroquine because I have rheumatoid arthritis, but I'm taking black seed oil to see if I can get off of that. And then I'll just hoard it in case we have some viral thing happen. I think what else? Progesterone because I don't have any ovaries. I take an estrogen cream because I don't have any ovaries. Um, is that it? Sometimes I'll take melatonin for sleep, and then I've got an antihistamine on hand if I absolutely have to take one, and I try not to ever take them. Um, yeah, Gypsy Princess, you're right. Most countries have higher standards for food than we do, most developed countries. K2 will help fatty liver. Yes, losing weight will help fatty liver. K2 will help fatty liver. Definitely D3. Um, I would think that black seed oil would help just because it's metabolized in the liver and uh, is very much a liver tonic. Like I said, black seed oil, Nigella sativa, is the folklore is that it will fix everything but death. And the medical studies back that up. RJ says, no, you're not wrong. I tried to tell people that sending sick people away from the hospital ER was insane, medical neglect. No, no, no. You absolutely wanted to send sick people away from the ER because they were killing them with their protocol. I have a friend named B. Geyer. He was worked for the Department of Justice under Obama, retired during that administration, and he runs a group or is part of a group called Former Feds, and they have a remdesivir support group for people who've lost someone or had somebody injured by remdesivir, and they're working on lawsuits on these hospital protocols. So yeah, I did everything I could to divert people from hospitals. I'm like, hey, where are you? I can bring a nebulizer, and we got those people well. Eastern medicine at one time, doctors got paid for healthy people. Wow, I didn't know that. Scalar silver has better delivery than I use ionic silver. Um, I've not heard of scalar silver. I'll look that up though. RJ says before they started the protocol, they were told not to treat. They gave inhalers and Tylenol. Yeah, or they just straight away put you on the ventilator. Um, the inhalers were a good idea. If you could get a budesonide inhaler, that was a great intervention if you could get it. They were giving a lot of people albuterol, which isn't really helpful because albuterol is just a bronchodilator. Your bronchioles aren't swollen. It's not asthma. It's not bronchitis. The problem was deep in the alveoli of the lung, and budesonide is an inhaled steroid, so it's really helpful. The other thing that is really helpful is huge doses of vitamin D3 because vitamin D3 acts like a steroid in the body and reduces inflammation. And so, if it were me during COVID, I would take 50,000 international units of D3 and 600 of vitamin K2 every day for 5 days and then go back down to the normal doses. And that will knock just about anything out, viral, bacterial. It really does work. I try to keep my vitamin D level in a functional range. But some people, for some reason, even with supplements and things like that, generally, if somebody's vitamin D isn't going up, the first thing that I think of is, I wonder if their magnesium is low. And if you give them magnesium and then their vitamin D level doesn't go up, they might just, like if you're overweight, that can happen. And they just require bigger doses, or there's trying to think of the name of it. There's an already like broken down version of vitamin D. It's what is the name of it? It starts with a C. Uh, anyway, they did a study during COVID where they gave people that because so they would do studies just to disprove something rather than to do it for scientific rigor. So they would have people come into the hospital, be admitted to ICU, and then they'd give them 10,000 international units of vitamin D3, and they'd say, "Oh, look, they still died." Well, of course, they're in critical care. You've waited so long to do anything. You set this study up just so you could say vitamin D didn't work. Vitamin D doesn't cure COVID, but it absolutely, if you have a good level going in. So there was a study early on that showed that if you had a vitamin D level, so 30 is considered normal. If you had a vitamin D level of 20 or less and you ended up in the hospital, your risk of death of COVID was 96%. If you had a vitamin D level of 30, which is considered normal, your risk dropped to 81%. If you had a vitamin D level over 30, your risk dropped to 4%. 4%. So basically, if you had a therapeutic vitamin D level, your risk for COVID was almost nothing, or risk for death or hospitalization from COVID was almost nothing. But you know what they did is they've done all these studies in the population, and so they found that this one blew me away. They found that most people, the average vitamin D level is about 18. So instead of advising vitamin D supplementation, people get out in the sun, whatever. They got together and they're like, well, maybe we should just lower the reference range to 18. So 18 to 100 instead of 30 to 100, and then everybody will be normal. And I'm like, this is how medicine works today. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Why don't you lower it to Ricketts level? How about that? Let's do that. That makes sense. These people are monsters, or they're idiots, or both. I don't know. He was only 65, Tennessee woman. Wow, that's young. Don will be 63 this year. Hold on, catching up here. RJ says once they started the protocols, nobody should have gone to the. Yes, ED. They killed them with the protocol. Yeah, the remdesivir killed them. The dexamethasone was a terrible idea. AJ says, what about children? Can they take these amounts of D3K2? No. You don't want your kids to take over 400 international units of D3. K2, I don't know about K2 in kids. I mean, are we talking littles or are we talking teenagers? I'd feel comfortable with my teenagers taking, uh, what is it? Is it 89 the lowest dose of K2? I would be okay with 12 and ups taking that. If they're inside a lot, definitely, I would start with 400 international units. Now, it's hard to get sometimes insurance companies don't want to pay for a vitamin D level, but if you happen to mention to your doctor that your bones have been hurting and you're wondering if your vitamin D level might be low, your insurance will cover it. So, I mean, if your bones are hurting, you should tell your doctor so that you can get your D level checked. That's all I'm saying. 13, 12, 11, and 10. Yeah, 400 international units. I mean, as long as they don't have kidney disease, which the K2 would fix the issue that could result from that. 400 international units. And then the lowest dose of K2, I think, is 89 or something micrograms. It's real low. Trying to think if there are all kinds of supplements on that you can find that are 400 with just the low dose of K2, which is 89, I think. And chewables even. Once they started PJ says, I remember telling my family a couple weeks before getting Delta that in no way did I go to a hospital. Yeah, people were begging me to go to the hospital. They would get on and watch my live streams and just be frantic. I spent more time, Patty can attest to this, and so can Debbie if she's still on, but I spent more time trying to calm people that were watching me. And it was so funny because I remember somebody saying to me, every day you get on here, you look closer to death. But somehow you get on here and you manage to make us feel better about what's going on. And that was one of the best compliments I've ever gotten in my life. I thought, look, if I'm going to die from this, at least I can teach people some stuff before I go that might save them. And I want to be able to go out doing good. I need my death to mean something. That was really important to me. And then God ended up, bringing people into my life to rally for me with the board of pharmacy to get them to get the pharmacy to fill my hydroxychloroquine prescription. And I got it. And within 24 hours, I was looking much better. This was like 3 weeks in, I think. But I mean, all in all, I lost a ton of hair. I had shingles. I had pneumonia in both lungs, viral sepsis, and my kidneys and liver were showing signs of failing. I had inflammation in my heart, and this was all just neglect. This did not have to happen. Was that it? High fevers, 102 every day up to like day 50, usually higher. What else? I had auditory and visual hallucinations. Uh, I mean, just every pain. I had the the pain in my bones and my head was so bad every day that by 3 weeks in, I was considering suicide. I really was. I had to do the live streams every day because I was worried to be alone during the day without having anybody with me because I was so thinking of suicide. And finally, my doctor kept saying, I can call you in pain medicine. I didn't want to take it. And finally, I'm like, if I don't get some relief from this pain, I'm going to snap. I'm not safe. And so he called me in Percocet. And I think that was like one of the first nights I actually slept 4 or 5 hours. But I have never had bone pain like that in my life. I don't know what of COVID causes that kind of, but I've heard it over and over from people. They'd had flu or pneumonias, other things, and never had that deep, just horrible bone pain that is unremitting. And the headaches were like, it very much reminded me of malaria because you see that with malaria, this horrible fatigue, And then horrible, horrible pain and super high fevers. It was like malaria and mast cell disorder had a love child, which is why I think I was able to figure out a protocol to fix it because I'd suffered with mast cell disease. Um, RJ says when people returned half dead after being sent home, they put them on vents to finish the job. Yeah, they did. Calciferol. Thank you. It's not cholecalciferol. Is that the one that's prescription, RJ? They changed definitions of vax and pandemic and now something else. Yep, you're right. You're right. You're right. Do not mind me says, not to mention they closed all the parks, told people to stay at home inside. Yeah, don't let your kids go outside. Don't you go outside. Thoughts on echinacea? Um, People take it. I've never had really good results with it. I've never had really good results with elderberry either, and I know people that do. So that may be just something that's specific to me. I also think echinacea is hard to get down. Um, where, like black seed oil you can get in gummies. It's easy to take. If you're going to take it at night because it'll make you very sleepy. You'll sleep like a dead person. Um, Silver is easy to get down. There's just so many things that are iodine's even easier to get down. Echinacea just tastes so bad to me, and I just have never had good results. That's not to say it's not helpful because I know people who've taken it and done well. Blood panel isn't too bad. What kind of blood panel, Marie? She says it's not too bad if you pay the cash price. It would depend on what labs you're getting. Maybe basic labs, a CBC, BMP probably aren't that expensive. Vitamin D levels, as far as I know, are still very expensive, and that's not in a basic panel. Marie says, I never hurt as bad as I did with COVID. I don't know how you took it so long. Mine, oh my gosh, only 3 days. I, in my life, you guys, my uterus ruptured with my third child while I was in labor. That was not as painful as the bone pain from COVID. It was that bad. Calciferol is the RX. That's it. So if you are obese or you have some issue where no matter how much vitamin D you take, you can't get your level up, and I'm talking 50 to 100, not 30. Talk to your doctor about calciferol because calciferol is already broken down and your body doesn't have. There are, especially people of color. People of color have a genetic difference that makes it difficult for them to break. That's why what's interesting is people of color are more high risk for having low vitamin D because their skin is dark. Um, but the other thing is there's a genetic issue that makes it harder for them to break down vitamin D, and so I like to see people of color, especially people who are really dark skinned, if they're vitamin D deficient and the D3 is not doing it, I like to see them go to calciferol because it'll usually pop it up. Same thing if you're overweight. If the D3 is not bringing it up, talk to your doctor about calciferol. Miss Marie, I caught you live. My mom jabbed 3 times. Oh, had a spot show up on her spine in an X-ray. Hasn't had it tested yet, but I'm wondering if it's cancer. What treatment would you recommend? Well, if she's not on, I'm not recommending treatment. I'm just telling you what I would do. If she's not on SSRI antidepressants and doesn't have a G6PD deficiency, the first thing I would start would be methylene blue. So what did we say? The brand is BSF. It's 1% methylene blue. It's the USP grade. That's all on the label. You can get it on Amazon. You can buy veggie caps that are 000 size. Those are big, so hopefully she can swallow a big pill. Fill that sucker up with methylene blue. Um, and I would probably try to take it twice a day if it were me. And I would add in if she doesn't have hypertension, so high blood pressure, I would throw in some sodium ascorbate because you can get it in a powder and it's more palatable than ascorbic acid vitamin C. And in the powder, like in a quarter teaspoon, you can get, I think it's 1,100 milligrams of vitamin C. And if you put it in lemonade, you can put a half a teaspoon in, even 3/4, and it doesn't taste too bad. It's a little sour. But you can get big doses of it. Methylene blue, the thing I love about methylene blue is that um, it repairs the mitochondria of the cell. So in the cell, you have your nucleus, different parts, different organelles and everything in the nucleus. And that's the cell, that powers everything in your body. What powers the cell is the mitochondria. And we know that mitochondria aging is part of what causes all the aging effects in our body. It leads to disease and different things. And if you can, we know that COVID is largely a disease of mitochondria. The mitochondria get destroyed, and then there's no energy to the cell, and the cells die. And when the cells die, you die. Um, so definitely methylene blue would be the first thing I would consider as a supplement with high dose vitamin C. I'd give her as much vitamin C as she can tolerate without getting diarrhea. If she gets diarrhea, back off and go to the previous dose where she didn't have it. But that's where I would start for sure. And I would definitely get it diagnosed so you know what you're dealing with. You did a full panel of what, Marie? I see people say this a lot. I'm not picking on you, but I'm just bringing it attention to it. Um, what do you mean by a full panel? Like, what labs did you have done? I think people think when they go to the doctor, I know they think this because they tell me all the time. They'll say, "No, I went to the doctor and they checked all my labs." No, they didn't. There's no way they checked all your labs. If they checked all your labs, you would have hundreds and hundreds of lab tests done. No, generally, when you go to the doctor, your basic labs are your CBC, which tells what your blood count is, your white count, things like that, your platelets, uh, your hemoglobin, your hematocrit, um, and then a CMP or probably just a BMP, a basic metabolic panel. And I think that's potassium, sodium. I can't remember what else is in that. That's generally it. Um, you might get a CMP, which is a complete metabolic panel. I think that's got albumin and something else. But that basic panel does not include vitamin D. It does not include a complete thyroid panel. It does not include, um, what is the one for a C-reactive protein to see what your inflammatory levels are. There are a blue million things that they do not test. So I doubt very seriously you got a complete panel of anything. You didn't get complete labs, I promise. Um, no antidepressants. They say she has high blood pressure and high cholesterol. I think she's gotten away from taking statins. Um, yeah, I would look at some black seed oil. Also, excellent research on black seed oil for cancer. Excellent, excellent research. Buffered C, no. So sodium ascorbate. As long as you don't have hypertension, as long as you don't have hypertension that's sensitive to sodium. A lot of times they'll tell you not to have salt, but they don't actually know if you're sensitive to sodium. So you can try it and see. You could just get much bigger doses, more palatable with sodium ascorbate powder than ascorbic acid. But if not, she can take ascorbic acid. That's fine. Buffered C is also fine. Sauerkraut's high in vitamin C. It's high in vitamin C as far as vitamin C containing foods go. It's low in vitamin C as far as megadosing vitamin C. So sauerkraut, vitamin. I mean, it's probably got enough to keep you from getting scurvy. Okay. According to a study conducted by a team at Cornell, a scientist measured the range of antioxidants and vitamin C in sauerkraut were what antioxidants? That's not helpful. Hold on. It ranges from 57 to 695 milligrams. I tell people the lowest dose of vitamin C that you should be taking in a day, if you're taking vitamin C, is a gram. So that's 1,000 milligrams. So you're going to have to eat a bunch of sauerkraut, and you wouldn't really even know what level your sauerkraut had. It might only have 57 milligrams, which is nothing. Um, Good probiotics. I cannot take probiotics. They make me so sick. I've tried every brand. I'm talking violently ill. I do like sauerkraut for the probiotics though, and I like all the pickled things for their probiotics, ginger, all that kind of stuff. A quarter teaspoon of sodium ascorbate. Yeah, 1,100 milligrams, more or less. It's a thank you, D. Thank you for looking that up. Yeah, that's why I like the sodium ascorbate. A quarter teaspoon. So if you put a half teaspoon, you're getting 2,200 milligrams. You can put that in 4 ounces of lemonade, and just drink it down. And you could do that every hour. That's a lot of vitamin C, but if I had cancer, I would do that. What vitamins did it include? Marie's saying she had a complete panel, so I'm curious what vitamins. Like there would be in a CMP, you would have your magnesium, your potassium. Um, Potassium's not a vitamin. Uh, Magnesium's a mineral. Uh, Magnesium, potassium. What else would be in that? You could get your iron level, which also isn't a vitamin level. I can't think of what else is in that. I put 5,000 milligrams in a 2-liter bottle and drink throughout the day. Doesn't upset my stomach. Yeah, I love the sodium ascorbate. Does not bother my stomach, and I can take a lot of it. And many, many things bother my stomach. Miss Marie says I actually had her buy some black seed oil a few years ago. Not sure if she has any. Yeah, I wouldn't drink it this late. If it's kind of black seed oil is hard to take. If you can do the capsules, it just tastes really foul. The capsules are easier to get down. They also make gummies that have like 1,000, I think it's 1,040 milligrams in them, and that's a good wallop of black seed oil. It does cause drowsiness, so if she's at risk for falls, I'd be a little careful with that and start at a lower dose. Not medical advice, just what I would do. Yes, you're right. You're right. Probiotics and sauerkraut. Oh, you ferment your own veggies. Nice. There's something I should look into. All right. We're going to cover the trans kids thing. We got to finish up soon, you guys. We've been at it a long time. Oh, go back here because if YouTube is saying anything, I'm not paying attention. Nope. Okay. Hospital Insider. And I may go, for anybody that might still be watching on YouTube, I'm probably going to stop broadcasting to YouTube because they keep dinging me on copyright on my opening music, even though I paid for the opening music through a site that provides it. So even with the licensure, they're dinging me on copyright, and I just hate YouTube. I don't get a lot of views on YouTube anyway. Okay, so these kids, these trans kids who are on hormones, are now showing up in ERs um, with, trying to self harm or harm others. So, an insider at Maine Health, one of the largest systems in the state, who is familiar with patient care information, including adolescents, is speaking out about transgender children who are taking hormonal pharmaceuticals for chemical sex changes and subsequently showing up with serious mental health crises, including psychotic breaks from reality. The source made their concerns known to Do No Harm, an organization seeking to restore the medical field to science-based care. Oh gosh, that'd be nice. Patients with psych emergencies are admitted to the emergency room in severe scenarios when urgent stabilization is needed. Psych-related emergency room visits are due to the patient being a danger to themselves or others, verbal threats of violence, hallucinations, cutting themselves, and attempted suicide. As part of the affirming model, patients with gender dysphoria are treated in gender clinics where they take cross sex hormones and puberty blockers. Those drugs are considered by proponents of affirming care as life saving. Transgender patients have a high rate of suicidality, with supporters of sex changes attributing that to a lack of family and societal acceptance. Is not what the problem is. The Insider reported that some of those patients who are taking hormones experience serious psychiatric emergencies, including cutting and breaks with reality, cutting themselves. The Insider also said they were aware that children, mostly girls 13 and over, who have supportive and affirming families, are showing up in emergency settings. Parents are encouraging this by talking to staff and saying, "You need to call her this boy name. This is how she identifies." Like telling staff that we should be doing this, not the kid. Like telling staff that we should be doing this, not the kid. Oh, so the parents are telling them, the kid's not saying this. Yeah, I think this is fictitious disorder inflicted on another, or also known as Munchausen by proxy. However, they believe the affirming model is cruel and questioned why it made sense that patients taking cocktails of psychotropic medications to manage severe mental health issues would be given hormones and puberty blockers, which also have known side effects of depression and anxiety and aggression, actually. There's so many other side effects. Why would you add that to somebody who's already struggling? It makes no sense to me. I don't even You don't even have to have a degree to figure that out. I keep saying that. The insider believes staff just write it off as, well, the previous doctor did it, so I'm just going to transcribe that, meaning the ER doc. I'm just going to continue because we don't want to change anything cold turkey, which isn't the role of an ER doctor anyway. I think a lot of times they look at the previous meds and it's like, okay, well, so they're going in there, they're trying to kill themselves, and they're like, hey, let's continue all these hormones and let's throw an antipsychotic in the mix because, why not add another school shooter to the list? Okay, well, I guess we're going to continue that without really thinking about it or really understanding what might be going on. Those things may be adding to the problem and the fact that there's such a social push. The hospital declined to comment. A detransitioned 20-year-old named Kobe recently told Fox News that at one point, cross sex hormones caused him to lose touch with reality. Going off the hormones made him feel alive again. He currently has issues with his spine, I'm guessing from the puberty blockers. The blockers not only suppressed Kobe's development, but according to him, suppresses your life, your drive to do anything, and your happiness. This is just so heartbreaking to me. I've been going railing on this for a while, and I'm gonna keep on doing it. I'm not gonna shut up about it, and they can say whatever they want. Um, Check our comments here. Yes, black seed Nigella sativa, SATIVA. My doctor is trying to figure out why my white count is elevated. How elevated is it? Miss Marie, my mom was pretty healthy, walked a lot, and ate pretty healthy. Not overweight, but she did take the statins for a while, meds for high blood pressure, diabetes, got the jabs, and it seems she's just been sick. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, and she's unhealthy to start, which is problematic. If we could get some weight off of her, get her blood pressure and sugar under control. Um, a ketogenic diet. I'm not for the total ketogenic. Um, I think for a lot of people, ketogenic is great. For me, my hair fell out. I thought I was never going to poop again. Um, I had no energy. I just felt bad the whole time. And I tried it for a very long time. I have to have at least 100 grams of carbohydrates a day. That said, I don't eat junk. Yes, I had cookies tonight, but it's my birthday. Most of my carbohydrates come from vegetables. A little of them come from fruit. I do juicing. I juice like one apple with, you know, uh, the big 16-ounce packs of celery. I'll do half of that and throw in half a cucumber, and so I get a lot of my carbs that way. Um, with little things here and there. And now this, it started with back pain. I suggested she go to the chiropractor. They were the ones that found the spot on the spine. Yeah, she needs to get to the her primary care doctor and have a CT or an MRI done. Yes, these parents are sick, PJ. They're crazy. The break from reality is when the child first thinks of becoming a different gender. I agree. Early in the show, Deb said something about Nigella sativa. Yep. Oh, she was not overweight. She's overweight now. Okay. White count is at 9. 5 to 10 is normal. Um, she was healthy, but I think she was one of those people that they put her on statins because she was at 218 or something. What was at 218? Her triglycerides, her also she had diabetes, but rather than telling her to change her diet, they put her on diet. Yeah. Yeah, the doctor called me today and was trying to tell me I needed to put my brother on Ozempic. I'm like, "You're insane. We're not doing that." And so I did some investigating and found out that he's drinking a bunch of zero sugar diet pop. And I just kills me that nutritionists and doctors recommend this. Those artificial sweeteners cause insulin resistance. So it causes your insulin not to work as well, which drives your blood sugar up. So if you're drinking these diet pops, you are making your body resistant to your own insulin. And the way insulin works is, so you've got glucose in the body. Glucose is the body's fuel source. It turns carbohydrates into glucose, right? Um, so the glucose is floating around in the blood. Here's your cell. Insulin is the key that unlocks the cell and lets the glucose go in to feed the cell, right? So if you're insulin resistant, the insulin will not open up the cell. It's like the key doesn't work as well anymore. And so you've got all this sugar floating around, your sugars are elevated, and your cells are starving because the insulin won't let the sugar in. I hope that's, I know that's oversimplistic, but that's a good explanation of what happens in layman's terms. So, when you're taking in artificial sweetener, they should ban it. It is horrible. It destroys your gut biome. It 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 actually alters your DNA. I'm talking Splenda, aspartame, NutraSweet, same thing. Sucralose. We're even seeing that stevia is causing problems. That's a natural one. Um, all of those. They're so sugar is actually easier on the body. Um, Now I don't recommend that you go eating a bunch of sugar, but we have got to get there is no amount of supplements that will fix a bad diet. There's just not. You've got to get your health in order. And I know it's hard. I mean, I myself struggle with it every day, but it is something that we have got to do at the very minimum in life. You've got to take care of yourself. And we need to get that mindset. We've so been fed this idea that, you get a problem, you go to the doctor, they give you a pill, and those symptoms go away, but your problem's not fixed. You've just suppressed your symptoms. So like Don is having this hypertensive crisis where his blood pressures are going stroke level high. And so, yes, we've got him on a drug to reduce his blood pressure. We're using hydroxychloroquine actually. Um, and it's working pretty well. Um, if you've got metabolic disorder, and you can look up metabolic syndrome and hydroxychloroquine. This should be the drug we're using instead of these anti-diabetic drugs and antihypertensive drugs. And so metabolic syndrome is somebody who has weight in their middle, they're insulin resistant. So they might not be diabetic yet, but they're insulin resistant, or they could be diabetic. They have high blood pressure and high triglycerides. You have at least 3 of those. That's metabolic syndrome. That's going to kill you. It's going to give you a heart attack or a stroke at some point, or cancer. Um, so Don has weight in the middle. He's hypertensive. His blood sugar in the morning is borderline. Um, and I would guarantee his cholesterol is high. So he has metabolic syndrome, right? We can put him on a medicine that will lower his blood pressure, but that will not fix what's causing his blood pressure to be elevated. And ultimately, we want to, you don't want to just put a plug in your tire and patch it. You want to eventually get a new tire, right? Because that plug's only going to hold for so long. And it's not actually fixing the tire, it's just buying you time. Um, so I did all the research and I'm like, let's start hydroxychloroquine. The reason I say that is because in India, hydroxychloroquine is used for diabetics because it reduces blood sugar. It improves your insulin sensitivity. It lowers I can't remember whether it's leptin or ghrelin that causes appetite to go up, but it stabilizes that. It lowers blood pressure. It um, it helps the endothelial lining and the vessels function better. It helps with weight in your middle. It is a drug that has such a long track record of safety. So I don't understand why we're not using it for this. It's crazy. The data is there. So we started him on that. His blood pressure was like 210 over 108, I think, the first time it was elevated. We started some natural things. They were bringing it down, but not much. 180, you should be at the emergency room, and he's running 200, right? So I started him on uh, beet beetroot extra or powder, um, celery extract, and a big dose of K2. Now, those things are going to take a while to work. We're talking like 6 months. I couldn't let his blood pressure go uncontrolled for 6 months because if I did, he was going to have a heart attack or a stroke. So medication is warranted. Okay. This is how we should look at medicine. Let's get the problem fixed. But while we're waiting for the problem to resolve, um, or while, yeah, let's do interventions that will solve the problem, and that's going to take a while. While we're waiting for that, let's give something to treat this condition that might kill you. So hopefully we'll be able to eventually wean off the hydroxychloroquine once he gets a little belly weight down. Um, Once we get his cholesterol down, we've made changes in his diet. Um, get his blood pressure down, his cholesterol down, get his morning blood sugar a little bit more stable. And hopefully we can start weaning him off that. I added the Nigella sativa, we did the chewies, and his sleep is already better. I've not checked his blood pressure since we started it, so I'll do that tomorrow. But that reverses the hardening of the arteries, and so does the K2. So over 6 months, as those things start to improve, we should be able to lower the dose of pharmaceutical, lower and lower and lower until we can completely stop it, hopefully. That's the goal. That should always be the goal. When you go to the doctor and they find a problem, the goal should not be, let's stop that symptom. The goal should be, let's figure out what's causing that problem. If the symptom is dangerous, let's control the symptom. But in the meantime, let's figure out what's causing it and fix that and then work off this pharmaceutical. But that is not our model of medicine, and it's very sad that it's not. They put her on diabetes meds. Okay, got that. CPL enzymes are off. I'm thinking fatty liver. CPL, you mean liver enzymes? Diet sodas. Oh my gosh, you guys, they should outlaw them. Does stevia have the same effect? They are finding issues with stevia now, with it causing insulin resistance. Yes. Yeah, Truvia, same thing. Agave, I think agave is supposed to be a little better. You're going to get some I mean, the thing is if you're just using a little bit in your coffee or you're having some baked goods, that's fine. You just don't want a steady diet of these kind of simple sugars. Local honey has a lot of benefits, but you don't want to put 2 tablespoons of it in every cup of coffee and drink 4 cups of coffee. You know what I'm saying? Moderation is important. Sugar in and of itself, raw sugar or uh, raw honey or local honey or agave, those things are okay, but we need to use them in moderation. I think it is ghrelin, Miss Marie. A chiropractor told me years ago that medical doctors treat the symptoms. Yeah, that's exactly what they do. Gypsy Princess, good night, sweetheart. Oh, I'm glad to spend my birthday with you. You guys are delightful. We're almost done. We're going to go through. I'm going to save the Hunter Biden stuff for next week. I don't know. I might address it. Okay, so I don't know if you saw Lizzo being accused of sexual harassment, but she forced her dancers to go to a strip club. I'm sure your kids aren't still up. They I can't just look at it for anymore. Okay. Forced them to go to a strip club and eat bananas out of strippers' vaginas. And so she's now being charged with sexual harassment. And the reason that people are like, oh, they're just going after her because she's fat. I find this very offensive because as a woman who was sexually harassed at my job by a woman and had it blown off and ended up losing my job for reporting it, I am very sensitive to this idea that same-sex people do engage in sexual harassment. Oh, thank you for the happy birthday, Vicky. So when I read this, my heart just went out to these dancers, and she even fat shamed them. I'm like, what the hell? So it really bothered me that she sexually harassed them to that level. When I was sexually harassed at work, I was new on the job. A charge nurse was in the room. She's from Colombia. Not that that matters. The only reason I bring it up is because my boss said, well, she's from Colombia. And I'm like, oh, so people from Colombia think they can run their hand down your top and honk your boob? I was in the break room and I was tying my shoe and I was bent over and my scrub top was V-neck. That's the first time I ever met this person. Stuck her hand in my top, grabbed my boob and honked it. So when I'm telling all my coworkers, they're like, "Oh yeah, she does stuff like that all the time." One of the male coworkers said she grabbed his crotch. Everybody but 2 people on that nursing unit had been physically sexually harassed by this person. And so I'm like, this is crazy. If this were a man, she'd be fired. He'd be fired. This would never be tolerated. So when I turned it in, she then started bullying me. Then she started putting me down at the far end of the hall where I would have to work by myself. Then she would make it so I couldn't get my brakes covered. Then she would make me cover the brakes of all the smokers on the unit. And it was just abuse after abuse after abuse. And so I turned it in, and eventually, somehow, an email got sent to a regional manager. I did not do this. I think my supervisor did it by mistake, but it rained all kinds of hell down on the hospital, the unit director. And so eventually they worked it around to where they had cause to fire me, which they cooked up, which they eventually had to apologize for. It all went before the board of nursing. It was hell. But all this because I was sexually harassed by a woman. So when I saw this, I was like, they need to figure out if she did this. And if she did, they need to just throw the book at her. It's disgusting. Okay, so did you guys see Marie says, I'm so glad I actually caught you live. I've not chatted with you since Ricada Law Stream. That's a long time. My accent sounds like upstate New York. I'm from Michigan, actually. Um, did you guys see the Sikh man, store owner, beating down um, the guy who's stealing the cigarettes? First, let me say, when I watched this video, I felt so guilty and ashamed that it gave me so much pleasure. I honestly mean that. I was very conflicted. I mean, I'm watching it and I'm cracking up. I'm like, hit him again. And then afterward, I'm like, gosh, this guy, for whatever reason, is stealing. I cannot believe I'm this. This is ridiculously compassionate. I'm like, this guy's got whatever's going on in his life. He's stealing. Um, he's getting beaten. This is just a bad situation all the way around. And here I'm delighting in it. Is it bloodlust or what is it in me? And then I prayed on it. It really bothered me that I enjoyed it. And I was like, no, it's justice. We all hunger and thirst for justice. And when our government says to us, you can't stop that person from stealing from you, we're not going to stop them from stealing from you. Even if we do stop them, we're not going to charge them. At some point, all that you worked for, that is a representation of your labor. The things you own are representations of part of you that sacrificed to be able to have that thing. So by stealing that thing from you, they're harming you, and there should be justice for that. And a righteous, just society understands that. And I think that's why it gave me pleasure, because I have seen so many videos where these people are just ransacking places, destroying mom and pop businesses, people that don't have much. They act like the store owner. They're like, oh, they have insurance. No, they don't. They don't all have insurance. And even if they do, we all pay the price for the increase in the insurance rates. And and so I'm like, nobody ever looks at it from the point of the store owner and how traumatic it is to them to continually have their labor just spit on by these people who just come in and take whatever they want, and then a justice system that will do nothing about it. And I think they actually want this vigilante justice in the streets. I think they want this. They want to push the citizens to have to do this so that they can take control. They can say, "Oh, we've got, people getting shot in stores and beat in stores because they're stealing stuff." Rather than fix it, they do nothing so that they can outrage the public, so that we'll start doing something so that they can clamp down on us and control it. That is the only thing that makes sense to me. Hold on, you guys went crazy over here on that. Oh, you loved it too. Okay, I'm going to play it. Um, did you read the comments? No, but I've watched multiple podcasters watch it, and it's even more fun to watch it with them because now we're both reacting. That was great. Conflicted for a second, yeah. It was his arrogance as he was sliding those. Well, and he's cussing the guy the whole time, and he's telling him he's gonna. He uses, I can't remember what he says to him, but he's cussing him the whole time and blowing him off, and um, POW. Oh, pow right in the kisser. Well, and it was funny about it, Salty Cuban, was that he basically just gives him an ass beating, and I'm like, if his parents had done more of that, he might not be on this path right now. And I'm not for beating your kids, but I think a good swat on the butt occasionally is warranted. Now, you may have kids that are very manageable with a timeout. I had 2 kids like that. I had one kid that was the only thing he understood, don't run in the road, don't run in the road, don't run in the road. And he keeps running in the road. And, so I would grab him and swat him on the butt. I'm like, I said, do not run in that road. You're going to get hurt. I'm using my mean mom voice. Finally, we ran over a watermelon in front of him to show him what would happen, and that stopped him. 200 teens show up to wipe out a 7-Eleven, and the mayor is offended that they were referred to as a mob. It costs the honest paying people. Yeah, I think that's the conclusion I finally came to. I'm like, look, there is nothing wrong with thirsting for righteousness and justice. So let me pull this video up for us. No, where is it? Yeah, cigarette beatdown. That's what it's called.
Hey, why are you getting everything? Shut your ass. Why are you getting everything? I'll put my strap on your bitch ass. Why are you getting everything? Why are you getting everything? Bitch ass nigga.
And no one cares that this immigrant probably works 24/7.
Hey, can I get a switch? Let me get a switch.
Back up, nigga. Back up. Put a gun on this fucking ass nigga.
Oh, just let him go. There's nothing you can do. But it's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do. You're helpless. No, he's not.
You have insurance?
What?
Did you have insurance?
You ain't got insurance.
No, it hurts you.
Look at how much he takes.
God damn. Ain't nothing you can do that.
But he's not taking cigarettes because he's starving.
Ain't nothing you can do, man, until police come in.
It sounds like at least two guys there. They could have stopped him by now. Here we go.
Don't do that.
Oh, he kills me every time. When the guy gets turned over, he starts screaming like a girl, like when he actually can get him on his side. There you go.
Whooping his ass down. That's called whooping your ass. That's called whooping your ass.
I'm sorry. I've probably watched this 20 times. It's good every time. Every time. We'll go here where he actually starts getting low.
Don't.
I mean, I wish he hadn't made the choices he's made. He's earned the consequence. That guy's got a swing on him. He tells you what time to be in at night. You better be in.
Whooping his ass down. That's called whooping your ass. That's called whooping your ass.
Well, hold on. Let me go to this other screener. It's just going to keep playing. So, Gary Don Jones says the ending of the full-length video makes me kind of mad. The store owner comes over and says never come back and lets him go. Well, what's he going to do with him? The police aren't going to come get him. He just took care of it. He exacted justice. He got his stuff back. Sent the guy on his way. I guarantee you that guy won't steal from him again. He'll probably still steal, though. And I don't mean that as a racial comment. I mean that as evidenced by his behavior historically. I picked my own switch back in the day. I have picked my own switch, too. Miss Marie says, he didn't get enough of that kind of punishment as a kid. Yeah, I got plenty of those myself. And it's so funny because that's considered child abuse. I'm like, look, there's a difference between a spanking and abuse. And like I said, my parents were the, last resort kind of spanking kind of parents. Now they'd give you a swat in the store or whatever if you were acting a fool. But, if you did something bad, you might get a really, memorable spanking. But I'm not insane. I'm not stealing anything. I know who I am and I know the course of my life. I have a moral compass. For everybody saying it was so abusive and so harmful, it seems like all of us who got that in a non-abusive way, just in a disciplinary way, all somehow turned out all right. And yes, I'm sure there are all kinds of people whose parents didn't spank them that also turned out all right, but were products of active parenting. So, whatever works with your kids, don't beat them if you don't have to. Don't beat them at all, but a corrective spanking is therapeutic, I think. I could be wrong. Open that can of whip ass lady be good. You're so funny. The chill factor of the guy taking the video. He's whooping your ass. He's whooping your ass. And I'm like, I do like the commentary actually. I hope they don't get charged with assault. I tried to find any kind of follow-up information on that, and we still don't know unless something else has come out. We still don't know where this even occurred. And so like so many of the sorry, we're gonna have to quit soon. My throat's getting weird. I try to be really considerate of your all's time because so many of the shows during the week all tell the same story over and over again. So I always try to find a different spin on it or try to analyze it from a different point of view because I know you don't want to hear the same story over and over again. So, yeah, so I try to come at it from a different point of view so as not to bore the crap out of you. Miss Marie says, I got a belt or the back of a hard plastic hairbrush. Oh my gosh, my Aunt Betty used to spank us with a hairbrush or a wooden spoon. Yep. Mine would definitely have been abused these days, but I'm glad for the lessons. Yeah, yeah. Salty Cuban Cracker says, remember when they made you sit in a chair and each family member came and asked you what you did wrong and then you got spanked? I never had that actually. But I remember standing in corners. I remember writing pages out of the dictionary. I remember that if you got in trouble at school, and we got paddled at school by Mr. Waginka, but if you got in trouble at school, you were getting it again when you got home. And there was no, oh, that teacher is so mean. There was none of that. You behaved, and that they're like, look, you're going to have difficult people in your life. These people are in charge. Do what they say. And that was just the rule. Now it's all little Bobby, little Sally. You're never wrong. They never do anything wrong. It's always the teacher. Can we switch teachers? And now, granted, we've got some serious issues with teachers, but in my day, we didn't. My husband said he saw it and said it was in Brooklyn. Where did he find out where it was? I could not find that. I could see this one time again. That chill photographer irritated me at first when he wasn't saying, let him go. Don't do that. Yeah, me too. My mom threw an egg at my sister. Laura my daughter, is very, what do they call it? Audio. It's called, has like auditory defensiveness where like certain noises make her absolutely insane. So Jake, my youngest, was going through this spell where we're teaching him not to smack when he chews. Gotta chill. My hair's up and it was rubbing my neck. So he was smacking one day and Laura threw an orange at his head. And I'm like, you are not allowed to throw things at his head. And so the next time he did it, she was standing there and she had the orange in her hand and she's just shaking. She's just red and the juice is just running down her hand. I'm like, Laura, seriously, you need to go in a different room or whatever. He's trying, or he was breathing too loud. He just annoyed her. And so one day she asked him to quit smacking. And I think he did it just to annoy her. And she was holding a frozen lasagna and she threw the frozen lasagna at his head. And so then I had to step in and say, hey, that's where I draw the line. That's a good lasagna. I got paddled by Mr. Waginka for throwing a pencil, and I cried. And then I got paddled by Mr. Pishlow, me and Angie Schaefer and Ernie Abercrombie. So we had to stay in during lunch because we didn't finish our work. And there was a door and a window that went out of the classroom, but the door was locked. Well, the window was open. The teacher had gone out, Mrs. Giles, and Ernie climbed out the window, and the window was open. And he's like, come on, climb out here with me. And Angie and I are like, no, we're not going to do that. We don't want to get in trouble. He's like, oh, you chickens, come on, come out here. And so Angie goes out and she's like, it's okay. Come out. We'll just go right back in. So I climb out. Ernie climbs back in, closes the window and locks it. And so we all get in trouble. Well, in our elementary school, Barrow Elementary in Rockwood, Michigan, if you got paddled, and I don't know why Mr. Waginka didn't paddle us, but we got sent to Mr. Pishlow's class, and he spanked you in front of his whole fourth grade class, and we were second graders. and he had a fiberglass hand, not his actual hand. His paddle was cut into the shape of a hand, and it was made of probably, fiberglass that thick, and it had holes drilled in it. Well, in my house, if you were getting a spanking, you cried right away because that might reduce the number of swats you got. I didn't know that you don't do that in front of a fourth grade classroom. So, like, as soon as I felt the air swinging back with him swinging the paddle, I started crying and everybody laughed at me and it was humiliating. And that was the end of that. Yeah, teachers used to be able to paddle the fool out of you. Yes, they did. My mom threw baked potatoes straight out of the oven, one after the other, like 9 of them at me. Oh, wow. I bet you straightened up after that. My brother in law was an administrator in Oklahoma where they still had corporal punishment, and he found out later he had spanked a girl who was pregnant at the time. Oh, my goodness. You're right, Lady Jex. You can't be wasting a good lasagna. Not when you're a single mom with 3 kids to feed. Salted Cuban Cracker says staying after class and writing 500 times in cursive what you did wrong and cleaning the chalkboard. Yes. Cleaning the erasers. Marie says, I never got paddled. I was quiet, but I did get put on the wall once at recess. Oh, no, not on the wall. They used to make us run laps and do squats and wall sits. If you've never done those, they're a real joy. Okay. I'm going to shoot you guys my theory on Hunter, and then I think I've got one more video to show you, and then we're done. Okay, so what about Bo? I don't understand. Oh, wait. Vicky says, I saw that. He got a whooping. Do you know if we can get hydroxychloroquine in Mexico? I do not, and I don't know the safety of the drugs that you would get there at all. But you don't really need it. Methylene blue will do the same thing. Goodness, my throat. So I feel like, here's my theory. I wrote it out. Why is it so egregious to ask questions about Joseph Biden Jr., aka Bo Biden? Let me go to the screen so I can share it with you. There we go. All right, come on now. There we go. So I wrote this the other day. In Hunter Biden's email threads, and I have read 1,200 pages of Hunter Biden's emails, I'll never be the same again. I've seen more filth than I've ever seen in my life in his computer contents. We see Devin Archer texting Hunter Biden in 2019. He's lashing out at Hunter because Devin, is facing jail time and wants to know why the Biden family isn't interceding on his behalf. He and Hunter were involved in a scheme to steal money from a Native American tribal group. I don't think it was to steal, but that was the final result or something. I don't know what happened there. But only Devin was charged. During the conversation, Devin says to Hunter, Devin Archer, and your brother was with me. Many assume this was figurative, but see, Devin Archer and Bo Biden were friends. Now, they didn't meet till Hunter and Devin started working together in their collaboration, which was 2015-ish. Or no, before that, because Bo died in 2015. But he says, and your brother was with me. Well, Devin was friends with both of them. Many assume this was figurative and that Devin meant Bo was with him in spirit because Bo died in 2015. Bo was Delaware Attorney General from 2007 to 2015. Joe Biden was vice president from 2009 to 2017. The pay-for-play and shell companies were in play at that time. How might Bo's position as Attorney General of Delaware benefited the shell companies and the Biden's family business? Why do we assume Bo Biden played no part? Is the scheme to put all the blame on Hunter, the hapless addict? How many of the Biden shell companies were incorporated in Delaware? I think all of them, while Bo Biden was Attorney General. Would the Delaware AG have been aware of the SARS suspicious activity reports from Hunter's banks? Would Bo have been privy to the FBI investigation, either via direct knowledge or via the governmental grapevine? In Hunter's book, he shares that Bo was always Joe's favorite, the golden child. Bo died May 30th, 2015. Would Joe allow Hunter to be thrown under the bus to protect Bo's memory? Thoughts? You cannot make your own hydroxychloroquine from organic grapefruit and lemons. It actually makes quinine, and quinine is not the same thing as hydroxychloroquine. And you would have to drink so much of it, so much of it. I know Dr. It wasn't Tenpenny, Christine Northrup, is that her name? Put that out. I don't know why she put that out. Um, so yeah, my theory is I think that Bo was involved. And I think a lot of blaming this on Hunter is to try to keep Bo clean. So here's some things for everybody, who's, with Corinne Jean-Pierre, somebody said something the other day about, I think it was Comer, about it was unfortunate that Bo died before they could go after him. And Corinne Jean-Pierre lost her full mind about it. It was the entire family, but they always make Bo this saintly character because, he died. And this doesn't look a thing like Joe Biden to me. Bo Biden agreed to a lenient plea deal for DuPont heir who raped his 3-year-old. No prison time. So this DuPont heir raped his 3-year-old, admitted to it, and was supposed to get like 20 years. I don't want to read this whole thing. And then got a sentence. Then they downgraded it to, and this wasn't Bo Biden that did it, but it was under his Justice Department, his Attorney General's office, I guess. So they dropped it to a 4th-degree rape. And then the sentencing guidelines recommended 0 to 30 months. The guy said he was sorry and just so sad and he would never do it again. The judge gave him an 8-year prison sentence, but suspended all of it in favor of level 2 probation, which would require an intensive treatment program in an inpatient psych clinic in Massachusetts and monthly meetings with a probation officer. The only reason I'm doing this is so that probation can be transferred, and I don't know what we're going to do if Massachusetts won't accept it. So they transferred it. The intent was that he get successful treatment. But Richards did not complete the program. He did not even start the program, which begs the question, who signed off on this? The answer is the late son of Joe Biden, Bo Biden. As rape is a state crime, the plea deal required the office of the state's attorney general, which at the time was headed by Bo Biden, to agree to the deal. At first, Biden's office hit Richards with 2 charges of second-degree rape, and this is the beginning of how thick this gets, okay? But then his office offered Richards a plea deal to have him cop to 4th-degree rape and recommended probation. Child sexual abuse cases are among the most heinous, blah, blah, blah. They said the case was weak, that there was no physical evidence, and that this was just on the telling of the mother, but the daughter actually told the grandmother. This was his own daughter. Told the grandmother, and this is supposedly how it got out. Now, divorced people sometimes do this to each other, so I always keep that in my mind. I don't automatically assume someone is guilty because the other parent says they are. But there was no medical or forensic evidence of any kind, and the child did go to the doctor. The defendant did not make a statement to the police, although he made an ambiguous apology to the victim's mother. A conviction would have required 12 jurors to find unanimously beyond a reasonable doubt, and so they downgraded it to rape 4 because of the weakness of the case. So it says we cannot know all the factors that played a role in Bo's decision, but we do know that a rich and powerful man admitted to raping his 3-year-old daughter and did not serve a day in prison. And we know that the prosecutor who approved it was the son of Joe Biden. And as much as Biden's family has been in play during this election, it's tough to fathom why the media have not examined this case. Does anyone not believe that if the attorney general's last name was Trump, it would be the topic of relentless coverage every night on the news? No. Fair. Okay, so then it gets worse. DuPont heir accused of raping second child. This is 2014. Bo doesn't die till 2015. A DuPont and Bo's AG till 2015. A DuPont family heir who raped his 3-year-old daughter nearly a decade ago but received no prison time now faces a lawsuit from his former wife that accuses him of sexually abusing his toddler son. Robert Richards, who is supported by a trust fund and who paid a 1.8 million for his 5,800 square foot mansion near Winterthur Museum, pled guilty in 2008 to fourth-degree rape of his daughter. Currently on probation, he has never been charged with crimes against his son. The lawsuit provides in-depth details about a child rape case. Currently unemployed. He's on the sex abuse registry. His ex-wife, Tracy Richards, filed a Superior Court lawsuit on behalf of her children, seeking compensatory and punitive damages for assault, negligence, and intentional and negligence infliction of emotional distress on his 2 children. Abuse of the children occurred at both the Greenville and North Shores homes, the lawsuit alleges. So she's wanting 77.4 million settlement for the victims. So, there's always that money thing. Did he really do this? Is she going after him because he has money? I don't know. I'm much more cynical than I used to be, sadly. So the lawsuit claims that Richards raped his daughter, now 11, in 2005 when she was 3. I'm not going to read what he did to her. Richard told the girl to keep what he had done to her a secret, but in October 2007, she told her grandmother, who informed Tracy, the mom. The girl was taken to her pediatrician, whom she told about the abuse, and Newcastle County Police arrested him in that December. Beau Biden's office obtained a grand jury indictment charging him with 2 counts of second-degree rape, a Class B felony that carried a mandatory 2-year prison term for each conviction. Delaware law requires a sentence of 2 to 25 years. So he gets off on the charge of rape 4. So the lawsuit asserts that Robert also admitted in April 2010, while on probation, that he sexually abused his son. Those assaults began around December of 2005 when the boy was 19 months old and continued for about 2 years. The revelations allegedly came while Richards was taking a lie detector test, ordered in an attempt to get Richard to be more forthcoming about his sexual history. Richards told the examiner he was very concerned that something happened with his son, but that he had repressed the memories. He told the examiner he worried that his acts were similar to what happened with his daughter, the lawsuit said, but he promised that whatever he did to his son, he would never do it again. The probation officer informed the Superior Court that during the polygraph, the possibility of sexual contact with his son came to light. So anyway, they're talking. So there's this civil suit that's going on. Okay. So the Beau Biden Foundation, Clinton-esque corruption exposed. What do you think the Beau Biden Foundation is a charity to handle? What do you think the focus of the Beau Biden charity is? Do you guys have any guesses? Oops. Would you guess stopping child abuse? I bet you would. All right. So according to a new expose from the New York Post, this is March 27th, 2022, the Beau Biden Foundation for the Protection of Children brought in $3.9 million in 2020, but very little of that money actually supported its mission of helping kids. Yeah, there's that too. Do not mind me. In 2019, the Biden Foundation, which was started by Joe and his wife, Jill, shut down shortly after Joe launched his 2020 presidential campaign, but not before giving a sizable donation of $1.8 million to the Beau Biden Foundation, which also received $225,000 in donations from entities tied to a top political donor and bundler to President Biden. So he's using his dead son's charity to help prevent child abuse, to basically bundle money for his election run. Despite this infusion of over $2 million to the so-called charity, tax filings show that Beau Biden's foundation only put $544,000 toward its mission of protecting children from abuse. At the same time, the charity spent nearly $1 million on the 6-figure salaries of the Biden cronies, with executive jobs. And guess who sat on the board of this charity? If you guessed Hunter Biden, you'd be correct. Joe Biden's daughter, Ashley, and Beau Biden's widow, Hallie, also sat on the board. Are you getting deja vu? This sure sounds like the same kind of scam that was run by the infamous Clinton Foundation, Bill and Hillary Clinton's so called charitable organization that also spent more money enriching its employees than doing actual charity. According to past reports, only 15% of the Clinton Foundation's spending actually went to charitable grants. After Hillary lost in 2016, the foundation's donations plummeted. That is how you know it's an influence peddling scheme. No doubt because deep pocketed donors realized the Clintons no longer had any influence to sell. The Biden family is pulling a similar scam and hiding it behind Joe's deceased son, Beau. So we have this Comer video. Hold on, I gotta go to 56. I don't know why it wouldn't let me trim this video.
This U.S. attorney had an opportunity to go after the Bidens years ago. In fact, it was Beau Biden, the president's other son, that was involved in some campaign donations from a person that got indicted. As well as Joe Biden was involved in some of these campaign donations when he was a senator and then when he ran for president against Obama. But, nothing ever happened. So, I don't know much about this U.S. attorney other than he's had an opportunity to investigate the Bidens before, and he chose not to. We all know that he's just been silent for a long time.
Okay.
The Daily Beast reported yesterday.
What a scumbag. I know. It's disgusting. How do you stop these monsters? I wish I knew. So I got into a thing in the chat with somebody about on Twitter. They were saying that there was no proof that Joe Biden was involved in any of this, and I'm like, you know what? If this were anybody else, you don't have to have direct proof of a check with Joe Biden's signature on it. It'd be nice, but you don't have to have it. You have enough of this picture put together that you can make reasonable assumptions as to what happened, and that would actually hold up in court. People have been convicted on far less. So Dan Bongino says the Democrats are correct. Outside of the bank records, the suspicious activity reports, the wire transfers, the private bank transactions, the LLCs, the texts, the emails, the WhatsApp messages, the photos of Joe with Hunter's business partners, the voicemails to his son, the two business partners saying Joe is the brand, the big guy, and the chairman, the two whistleblowers' testimony, the recorded phone calls between Biden and Poroshenko, the video of Joe Biden bragging about firing the Ukrainian prosecutor, and Hunter's statements that he's giving his dad half his income, there's no evidence of Joe Biden being involved. Good call, guys. I think that was well said. Okay, so we're going to close off here. We've got the missing Texas rodeo goat. Look how cute he is. First there was Gone Girl, now there's Gone Goat. The search for a rodeo goat that's been missing for more than a week has the residents of rural South Texas County enthralled as they are using horses, ATVs, and even contemplating using a helicopter to find the missing animal. Local businesses have donated nearly 90 prizes and gifts worth more than $5,000, including brisket, frescoes, and salon service as a reward for the person who finds the goat. I'm going to go find that goat. I need me some brisket. This has just gotten bigger than we ever dreamed. Our county is really small county and about 20,000 population, and mostly agriculture, farming, and ranching community. And we're very much one big family. So we're excited that everybody wants to find our goat, said Allison Savage, president of the Willacy County Livestock Show and Farm. Residents, including families, have been scouring cotton and sugarcane fields since the goat escaped from a pen in the county's rodeo arena near Raymondville on July 15th, following a youth rodeo. On Sunday, possible goat tracks were spotted in a cotton field near Lyford, south of Raymondville. When the goat first went missing, it didn't have a name, but after a poll on the Livestock Show's Facebook page, the goat was named Willie, short for Willacy County. While the goat has a name, Savage said officials are not sure if Willie is why you're a girl. Neither is anybody else. The livestock show has been posting regular updates on Facebook. The search has also been a boon for the livestock show. He's hiding from us somewhere, but we're getting closer. We're gonna find him, Savage said. See, it's that kind of stick-to-itiveness that makes this a great country. Maybe these people should run for president. I think I would have more faith in them. Um, AJ says she got switched in the butt once or twice, and that did the trick. You guys, I'm just catching up on comments here. Had to go grocery shopping. What I miss? Sherry, you missed a lot, love. That's okay. You can always go back and watch it on rewind. Okay. We had the goat. What's next? Oh, this guy. Prisoner on the run after Shawshank Redemption style jailbreak in Colorado. I am amazed. Okay. So you live this life of crime, but you prove that you're clever enough to break out of prison in a Shawshank Redemption style jailbreak. Do you realize if these people would apply these skills to life, they would probably be they'd do well. They'd be very productive. But no, they just I mean, this guy just looks like trouble. Those are some weird looking ears. The four, who were being held at Bent County Jail in southeast Colorado, reportedly pushed through a drywall ceiling in their cell, which used to serve as a kitchen and used bundled blankets to make it seem as if they were actually in their beds. That's the oldest trick ever. Can you believe prison guards fell for the bundled blanket trick? I'm amazed. From there, the inmates got through the roof of an adjoining bathroom, U.S. news agency KOAA said, citing Bent County Sheriff Jake Six. One of them, Mark Fox, 46, is still on the run, while two others have been captured, and the fourth found dead from a suspected drug overdose. Well, that didn't take long. Sheriff Six said on Tuesday. Benjamin Valdez, 34, was found dead in nearby Pueblo, according to the Bent County Emergency Management Agency. The other two unnamed inmates who escaped were recaptured when they called for an ambulance for an overdose early on Tuesday. Fox was described as a white man, bald, 6 feet 3 inches, weighing 210. Watch for him, guys. I don't want you to get got. The quartet escape has echoes of that in the film Shawshank Redemption and the Stephen King book it is based on. In the movie, a prisoner knocks through a wall, covering his escape hole with a poster of film star Rita Hayworth before breaking out via a sewage pipe, leaving clothes in his bed to make it appear he was still there. All of Southeast Colorado's law enforcement personnel are actively searching for Fox, and U.S. Marshals have been called and will shortly be helping in the hunt. The exact time of the escape is unclear, but it was either late on Sunday evening or early Monday morning, aided by staff failing to make an accurate head count either on Monday. These people that work in prisons, I mean, come on, get with it, guys. Counting heads isn't hard. Um, the Prowers County Sheriff's Department is investigating what happened while security arrangements at the jail are being checked. That's that. Inmates are resourceful, aren't they? His ears look like I know, I thought he had really weird, creepy ears. Let's check this. Look at that. They do look upside down. I wonder if I can turn that. Is it a picture? Oh, it is. Let's see. I don't know if we can turn it. Wouldn't that be cool if we could turn it upside down? No, it won't let me turn it. Doggone it. He's just I he's just weird looking. I can't quite and he's very smug. Look at that smug look. You can tell he's trouble. He's up to something. And he's looking at the guy like, I am so gonna whoop your ass when you get done taking this picture of me. I mean, he does look something's up with this guy. He's not playing with the full deck. But I mean, I don't why would you have drywall as your ceiling? Who designs prisons? This doesn't make any sense to me. Like I could figure out that people could tear through drywall. This who's in charge? Who are the architects of this building? This doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe they were involved. This might be a really long, like 3D, 4D chest thing. Why will this not go down? There it goes. I've been praying that pillar of salt petition on these corrupt individuals since I heard it in your closing prayer on live. Yeah, I am I would be so tickled if God would pull the pillar of salt. If you're not a person who's ever read the Bible or heard the story, Lot and his wife are told to leave. Is it Gomorrah? I think it's Gomorrah, because God's going to destroy it because it's so wicked. And so he tells them to leave and not look back. And so as they're leaving, Lot's cool chill. Lot's wife looks back and God turns her into a pillar of salt. And they actually not architects. Who is it that digs stuff up? Archaeologists. I think archaeologists at some point found what they think the pillar of salt is. Hold on. I saw this not too long ago. Pillar of salt. I love how they got to explain this. The geologist said that Lot's wife did not appear to turn into a pillar of salt because she dared to look back. How would that appear? How would an archaeologist look at that and be like, oh, yeah, this is definitely one of those cases where someone looked back and was turned into a pillar of salt by the Lord? But because of the briny nature of the Dead Sea. So was the Dead Sea only briny towards Lot's wife, not towards Lot or the other people fleeing the city? This just doesn't. This is like the worst debunking of the Bible I've ever heard. But I think they actually. Where is Lot's wife pillar of salt? A pillar of salt named Lot's wife is located near the Dead Sea at Mount Sodom in Israel. Maybe they were leaving Sodom. The Mishnah states that a blessing should be said at the place where the pillar of salt is. I want to see. Where Lot's wife froze, the world's largest salt cave is discovered. I wanted to see a picture of it. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Oh, my phone's going to die. Hold on. You're cracking me up over here. That's the trick I want to see God do. Lot's wife is still there as a pillar of salt. Yeah. I want to find the picture. Crap, I can't show you because I don't know how to share it. During that prayer, I started cracking up. I've never laughed during it. Oh, I say things during prayer that crack Don up all the time. I'm like, Lord, please forgive Don for farting when he climbed the tree and pretending that it was the saw that he was using. Always. I'm like, dear Lord, please forgive me for saying a really quick prayer, but I'm super hungry and kind of shaky, and I just don't have time to talk to you anymore right now. All the time, all the time. Anyway, I'll have to find the pillar of salt from Lot's wife, but let me pray us out because we've made it past my birthday. I'm taking the whole weekend, just so you know. We made it past my birthday, so let's say our prayer and end for now. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing everybody to hang out on my birthday. It was the best birthday live stream ever. I think it's my only birthday live stream. I'm not sure though. Even so, best ever. Thank you for the gifts from Gypsy Princess. I'm so excited to try the beats. Thank you for the donation and for everybody who supports the show. And thank you for giving me a platform where I can share your love and your wisdom and some humor. And where we can talk about all the stuff that's really pissing us off, Lord, because these people are nuts. We need a pillar of salt moment. We need it would just be really cool for one more person to lie to a judge or to make up a false indictment and just be turned into a pillar of salt. I promise you, if you do it, I will tell everyone that has ears. Father, I just bless everybody who's here. I bless everyone that would, or pray your blessing on everyone that would watch the video in rewind. For everyone who donates, I pray that you would return that blessing to them, pressed down and running over tenfold to bless them for blessing me. Father, thank you so much. And most of all, we thank you for your son, Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. Love you. Whole big bunches. Take the month for your birthday. Oh, I didn't think of that. I was a little grouchy earlier, so I'll have to make that up to Don because I'm not normally grouchy on my birthday, but the whole thing with my brother stressed me out. But that's not Don's fault. I'm excited to find. I'm just making sure I didn't miss any comments. It could be an old prison or a converted school to a prison. Really, that's a thing. Huh. Who knew? What a scumbag. Oh, okay, you're on Hunter. Wood chipper. Yeah, I agree. I think the whole scheme was started by Bo and Hunter, just got stuck taking over Bo's part when he died. Yeah, I think so too. Or I think at least Bo was turning his head. Um, Joe will toss whoever under the bus to protect Joe Biden's name. Well, the fact that he uses what's his ex or his deceased wife's name, Nalia or something like that. The fact that he calls on their memories so much for sympathy is disgusting. As somebody who's lost family members, lost a baby, late in pregnancy, I cannot imagine using that for political sympathy. That is so disgusting. And I think it's cringy. It's funny because I feel like political Democrats eat it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's to me that's one of the worst things Joe Biden does. Is like you can't say anything, you can't talk about Bo because Bo is somehow sainted because he died, and I'm like, look, we all live sinful lives. The things I've done wrong, you're more than welcome to talk about once I've died. It's okay. This idea that because someone's died, it's not speaking ill of them to to have to investigate the things that that person did wrong that we're just now finding out about, and you're trying to find out how deep this Karine Jean-Pierre wants to make it like, you can't say anything against the sainted Bo Biden, and I'm like, well, since when? I mean, I guarantee you if one of Trump's kids dropped dead today and they found out, um God forbid anybody's kids drop dead, not just Trump, but they found out about it, there would be no maligning that would be too far. I mean, it would be all you heard. You would not get the press secretary saying, "Oh, how dare you? We shouldn't speak about someone's dead child this way." I mean, they're not maligning him; they're just asking questions. I think that's totally fair, dead or alive. No, no, he doesn't wait up for me on Fridays. No, he's super tired. It was okay for a bit, and now it's totally manipulative and disgusting. I agree. All right, guys, I will see you not this Wednesday, because I've got the filming for the documentary to do. Next Wednesday, we will start Animal Farm. Excited about that. That is at 10:30 in the morning Eastern on Wednesdays. And then I think we're going to stick to the Friday night schedule. We get a lot of views on Friday nights, a lot of interaction. It's working, so I think we'll keep it here. Um, for now, maybe in the future we'll look at going to Sundays, but for now this is working, so we'll keep it. I love you guys, whole big bunches. Have a great week. Keep pondering this guy with his weird ears and let me know if you're able to turn him upside down. I want to see it. All right. Love you guys, whole big bunches. I will see you a week from tonight for our next Friday night live stream. Talk to you guys.